In
So they
20
couldn't rig
years'
up an
time, and in
apparatus and
20
have
years' time, 4K will be like kindergarten stuff.
right.
So you look 20K or 50K or 1,000K.
Yeah, we know.
Will you be
The
able to
thing
feel
is,
it?
the important thing
We
is,
know.
I think that you
Goalposts
guys
get moved.
always forget is that people saw it happen
I
through
was there.
On TV. People saw it on
No.
TV. We see a lot of stuff
Through
on TV.
listen, through telescopes. They saw the spacecraft traveling to the moon. So
Drew Bragg
They
picked
saw a
it
light in the
up.
sky with a telescope. That's profound. Let me call my wife.
School kids up the road from me at Kettering were listening to it.
That's a good point, though, Jem. Why is there not?
Listening to it on the radio.
Why is there not?
That's school kids, though.
Why is there not one
No,
amateur
no.
footage with a video camera
Kettering
tracking
has
the
no
whole
links with
entire journey?
In 1969, they didn't have fucking video cameras, did they? They were fucking Super 8s. The stuff they did porn with. What a fucking idiot.
No, the
It would
Beatles.
have
No,
been-
no, no,
They should do
that's
that
not
now.
true. That's not the Beatles. Had very good cameras
Oh, they had
to
Super
record.
fucking 8 with films.
No. The Beatles
Wind up
had
fucking
top of the
clockwork
range
fucking
cameras.
films.
The Beatles had top of the range cameras, the best
With
quality.
cameras with fucking film.
No, they
They
had
were
the best.
clockwork.
No,
If it was film, how did they
Clockwork
get the
fucking
footage?
cameras. Ink.
If it was film, how did they watch it live on TV then?
It was projected.
And this is in the
It
60s.
was analog and it was projected.
Well,
Well,
again,
Exactly
couldn't
as
give
they
us all
do
the feed.
cinema
They had to
transfers.
Yeah,
How do you think they
couldn't
get
give
a
us all the
cinema to
feed. They had
video
project
fucking
it on
thing
a
that they
TV
used to have?
screen and then record it off of that and then give it to us? That doesn't even make sense.
Yep.
Okay, let's say we give them a free get out of jail card for what they did back then. How much you
They
guys
were
want
like,
to
yo.
bet? But we won't. But let's just say, for the sake of this argument, how much you guys want to bet that the future mission to the moon, mission to the moon, there's not going to be one camera in front of the spacecraft, and there's going to be only one camera in the back of the spacecraft near where the engine is, and they're not going to show us the Earth getting smaller and smaller and deeper.
Oh, for
I mean,
How
this,
much you
this
want to
thing
bet?
should be. This should
Oh,
be.
get a
Next
job
time
at
they go to
NASA
the moon, it should be
build a
live
camera.
stream nonstop with
I did.
cameras.
even fucking
cameras on
SpaceX
them
showed that on their
nonstop with
launch.
them.
I'll take
Out of
any
the
bet,
airlock.
anybody here.
Oh, for fuck's sake, another fucking stupid internet bet. I'll pay you £1 million. Move the goalposts.
Essie, is
Roll
my
up.
mic low?
We'll do sportsmanship
Very
bets
low.
if you want.
Hello.
Wish
I
people
check.
would do sporting fucking bets, then they'd at least fucking pay them.
way, you clowns.
Is my mic low, guys?
No,
we
no,
hear
it's
you.
shouting.
Go ahead.
We hear you. It's just everyone is talking
Oh,
over
dude.
each
Being
other.
spastic.
I'm the worst for it. I know, but when I do, I do.
Calm down, Freddie got fingered. Relax for a minute here.
I'm calming down.
All right.
I'm just looking at my water charge. Jesus Christ. I'm not calm anymore.
Spastic, Jeremy. Not retarded, seem retarded. Not retarded, autistic.
You gotta be careful, Fred. You become our side Denmark.
So, Jose, are you being
I've
serious
never-
about you're not sure about the moon landings? Because if you are, why would they?
Yes.
Why would they hoax it though? Because flat earthers would say they hoaxed it because they needed to show a globe to the people. So why, in your mind, would they lie about it?
That
Is the first,
time you got
yeah,
far
the
enough
first
away.
thing since I was a little kid, since I found out that people landed on the moon, I just never believed it. It was all kinds of weird and random shit. And as for today, I just still don't believe it now with more, passion because it haven't happened again. And I wanted to shut myself down for a long time, and a lot of people the moon landings happened, so I was looking forward for it to happen anytime, but it hasn't happened. I don't think it will ever happen.
2024. Do they cancel
No,
that yet,
it'll be a few years than that. You can push that goal back a few
no,
years.
they've been pushing it back since the 90s. We know.
It's too early. 2024
Yeah, we know.
is
It's
what,
too early
3
in the
years.
90s. We know.
Yeah, but
But it will happen sooner rather than later. But 2024, believe me,
Fred,
will not
we're used
happen
to that violin,
2024,
bro.
but it will
It's
do a
been
few
playing
years
since
later.
But Fred,
No, we've heard it all before.
1975.
God, I see.
It's been the longest running violin.
All right, so let me ask you, Fred. So from the time Kennedy said, "We are going to the moon."
1962, yes.
Yeah. So it didn't take them long to get to the moon.
It was to the moon.
No, but I'm
And
saying
they
from the
put
time that he said
$80,000
it.
billion.
Yeah, but from the
They were
time that
fighting the fucking Russians.
No, but from the time he
If
said.
Kennedy hadn't been assassinated, they probably wouldn't have gone. The political will wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, but
How
from the
much
time
do
he
you
said-
want to pay to go to put this camera on the moon?
Yeah,
Do
but
you
I'm
want your
saying-
bins emptying, or do you want to go to the moon?
I'm just looking at the time that he said it, and then
Do you want your bins emptying, or do you want to go to the moon?
Chemo, listen, Chemo, I can't hear what what Fred's trying to tell us you're saying when
It's
you're
all down
talking.
to cash.
Chemo.
How we haven't been to the moon, why we haven't done all this stuff, it's quite simple. Priorities. Do you want your bins emptying every week? Your trash can done? Do you want to spend the money going to the moon?
Then don't make promises you can't keep. Keep your trash
I'm not
lids
keeping any promises.
emptied and keep your mouth closed
No
about the moon.
promises. I'm telling you, not a promise. It
That's
will not
not
be
rational.
2002.
Go to NASA. Go to NASA.gov, and half of the articles that are in top of the webpage are about this moon mission.
Oh,
They
I will
promised
bear me
us a
bum.
they promised us a moon landing in 2024.
No, they haven't promised anything.
Hey,
They've
well, and
never-
who was
They
they?
told us they were going to land on the moon. In
It was Hilton
2024.
Hotels.
They
That's called a
said
They were going to
goal.
land on the moon
You
in
haven't had any
2024.
goals in your life, Jeremy. but
Hilton
that's a
Hotels
goal, and
said
there are
that they
lots
were going to
of
have
people that can come up and do
stations.
It's true to say that every US president, I think, since Kennedy has said they're going to go back to the moon now.
Actually,
Yeah,
that's
then
we've
give
been
him 9
going
months.
back since the
They-
90s, Jim.
Now that doesn't mean that was hatched into a viable plan at NASA.
Yeah.
It just
just
means
told
the
us-
president said it.
Jim,
And
who just told us?
presidents say all sorts of things,
Yeah.
you know.
Jim,
Why
Jim,
would
who
you
just
try
told us
to
to
get
go to the moon
5
in
times the budget?
2024? Was that the
No.
president or was
The
that...
last one said he was going to build a wall, and he only built 9 miles of it.
All right,
Oh,
Jim, who
fine,
told us
Mike.
Why to go
recently?
to Congress and
Jim,
say,
who
hey,
told us
instead of
recently
half
that we were
a
going
percent
back
of
to the
budget,
moon?
we
Was it the
want
president or
4%
was it
of the budget
NASA?
like we did in the 60s.
Yo, is my mic broke?
No,
I
you're
was
good,
talking
bro.
right now. Over me.
Jeremy, what's happening is they're
That's it.
reaching deep into the excuse file and they can't hear you.
Reasons or excuses?
Fuck me, you're
Bessie?
full of
No,
shit.
it's
You're
a
not
reason.
special,
Try to go to
Jeremy.
Congress and
Everyone's
ask
getting
for
overtalked.
6 times the budget.
First article in the NASA. Look, with the big image. First one in the top left. NASA invites media to second test to fire rockets on what is Artemis missions. Thank you very much.
Huh?
Okay, told you, Jose. Second test, and in 3 years they're going to the moon. Timescales. Believe me, I know that.
So we are going to the
So
moon.
when you go to NASA.gov, the first article news you find is about the upcoming moon missions.
Nobody
What the fuck you
denied
talking
that,
about?
Jose.
Are we
Quit
going to the
being
moon in 3
weird.
years or not?
Oh,
Quit being weird.
but they will go soon, but 3 years is too
Who's the
much
weird
of
guy
a
calling me weird?
you know
Damn,
better
big
than
project.
The
you know better
projection
than
is
All
us.
wrong
it needs
here.
is one fuck up.
Don't worry,
I mean,
Jose.
Fresh,
Don't
you
worry.
space
know better
shuttle
than
fucking
NASA.
crashed, and it took them 18 months. 3
Dude, we
years,
don't want to
whatever
hear
it
your
was.
excuses. We don't want to hear your excuses anymore. We're sick of it. We're done with your pitiful excuses.
Want to go?
We're done with your bullshit.
Get the wallet. Get the cash out then.
We're done with your pitiful excuses, bro.
Now
Do
we
I
got
know
the
what
show.
to the moon next as far as the orbital flight around it? Has that slipped?
I don't think anyone heard what you said, or was it just me?
Oh, okay. Does anybody know if the orbital mission, where they're going to go with Artemis and just fly around the moon, whether that's still on schedule for this year or is that slipped?
Don't know. I'll have a look.
I haven't
Sure.
heard, but I can tell you with 100% certainty,
Don't
it
care
will
what you
be
have.
delayed.
I wouldn't doubt it.
The thing is,
There's
it's
a
a-
main engine problem. That's kind of a delay.
I think it's a very different animal, though. Now, this space travel in general, because we have got a sort of another mini space race going on with the Chinese. I think there's will in America to remain technologically in front of the Chinese in this field, and I think the big thing is though you've got all these privateers. You know, you've got people like Musk who's wants to get to Mars. So
How are we in a
that-
space
that-
race, Jem? We squashed Russia back in the 60s. And now
Well,
we're
China.
in a space
2
race.
years ago.
Told you.
just said China. I just
Yeah,
said.
no, we
I don't
no,
think
we
So
squashed
how does
Russia.
crushing Russia have anything to do with China?
Jeremy doesn't
Because
listen. He doesn't
50 years
understand.
ago,
Yeah, he lacks the
50
ability
years
to
ago, we
give
had
you
a
information.
I get what you mean, Jeremy.
and we
So we've
squashed
already
it.
done and dusted with
China comes out of
Russia
woodwork, and now we're all of a sudden involved
in
in a
another race. Yeah,
space race again.
exactly.
Why wouldn't you
When
be?
it comes to space,
If you want to remain, if you want to
when it comes
remain,
to space travel.
if you want to remain technologically in front of other foreign powers, then that is inevitable, isn't it?
But Jem, we went to war with Germany in World War II. Why do we have war again with a different country? What the fuck?
Jem, why have we devolved in space when it comes to space travel?
Well, we haven't. Have we?
Evolution. What the fuck are you talking about?
We
Look at
devolved.
the
Before we could
empty.
land a man on the moon, now we can't. That's devolved.
No, but we can land
Yes.
a fucking robot on a comet. How
We're
about
talking about
that?
human
To
space
bring
travel.
some of it
We've
back
devolved.
to Earth.
All right, we've devolved
You
when it
know,
comes to human
but-
space travel.
Facts, Jeremy.
Why don't you
facts.
get a job at NASA?
Well, that is an advance in space travel, though, isn't it? Because if you can
If you
make,
know, if
Hang
you want to
on,
do it,
hang
go
on,
get a job
hang
at NASA.
hello, if you can make discoveries about the solar system or the universe without having to send a human, and all the cost that goes with that, or providing life support for humans, then that is an advance, isn't it? If you can
No,
still
but why have
gather
we
information.
devolved? Okay, let me restate the question, Jem. Why have we devolved when it comes to human space travel?
We haven't.
We haven't.
Yeah, we haven't.
Oh, don't
That's
just
funny.
don't.
Jeremy
Funny,
just
Jem.
wants to
Laugh
send,
of a retard.
yeah, he just wants
That's
to send
funny,
humans
Jem,
to the
real
moon
funny.
like every year
So-
just for funsies.
No one can hear
In the
this low
past,
guy.
in the past
this
40,
low guy
50
is-
years, in the past 40 and 50 years, men have been 250 miles above Earth. But before 50 years ago, they were 200 and plus thousand miles away from
We've
Earth. That's not
devolved, okay,
devolution.
yes.
Houston,
We've
we
devolved.
have a problem.
Y'all want to send people to the ISS just for fun. How much extra energy is it to go to the moon? What's the problem?
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Getting them to, it's
It
not
sounds
getting them to
very
the moon.
informative.
It's-
Argument.
You didn't
The
even
moon
get
is
out of the
relatively
garage if you want
easy.
to compare going to the moon. You didn't even get out of the garage yet.
I don't think it's that
Yeah.
much extra energy, to be honest.
You're still.
You're
you didn't
still
even
in your
cross
front.
the
You're still
sidewalk
in your
into the
kitchen,
street.
bro. Going downstairs to go into your garage.
Well, it's
You
to what
say
they're
it's a
doing,
lot.
though,
I
isn't
say it's
it?
not a lot.
Well, it is because they're only just going up 50 mile or a couple 100 mile, aren't they?
That has nothing to
They're
do
not
with
launching from
Yeah,
something.
that has nothing to do with the
They can cut
equation,
and
though,
they
bro.
can-
You're
and
just
if anything
stabbing. You're
goes wrong,
stabbing.
they can
You're
be-
stabbing
they can be back in
blind.
10 minutes.
You're fucking stabbing blind, dog.
You guys really think we didn't devolve when it comes to human space travel? What is wrong with you? You guys got issues.
Correct. We didn't. We got better at it.
You have
Mu-
mental
Yeah,
issues.
we
didn't
I
have to
think
risk
that you have
humans.
mental issues.
No.
That's good. We didn't have to
Human-
risk
Devolved
humans
when it
to
comes
go
to
to
human
Mars.
space
Space
travel.
travel.
It's
We didn't
clear.
have to risk humans to go to L1. We didn't have to risk humans.
That's why they put
Yeah.
monkeys and dogs on first. People
Yep.
sue.
Tell them
Freak
they're in
fly.
La La Land, SE.
Most definitely, Jeremy. Most definitely. Only Jose is on the ball here on these guys' side.
Oh,
The rest of
listen.
them are
Kim,
How
Stop.
long were the Apollo astronauts in space?
How
long will
Less
it
than a
take?
week, I think.
Everybody shut up. The new Black Death want to insult flat earthers and myself. Let him do it. Go ahead. Tell us really how you feel, New Black Death.
Well, no, I was just asking how long they're going to jerk each other off while
this
we
guy's an
wait.
idiot.
while
We don't even
Jeremy
listen to
and,
him
Esty,
here,
we're gonna fillet each other and cheerleader style.
It's very important, his insults.
No, we don't
wanna-
even listen to this guy here. He's not.
this guy's
very
insignificant. Just turn him
Very
off.
important.
Yeah,
Jose,
makes
I
sense.
had no idea that you're a moon denier. That just makes you
This
extremely.
guy's really a clown.
Aw,
We don't even
you're so cute.
pay him no mind.
I thought you were on the level, man. I
Moon
thought you were a
denier for
reformed, normal person.
practicalities.
Looks like you made a new girlfriend, Jose.
Oh, that happened weeks ago, bro. This guy see me. He's a fan. He's a fanatic. He's a fanboy of me, man.
Yeah, he's a
Not
clown.
really. No. I thought that you're on the level. I thought you're a reformed flat earther. You'd come around to reality.
am.
But no, I guess I was wrong on that.
I am. I'm a skeptic.
No, we've got.
I'm not a mainstream. I'm not a mainstream puppet like you. I'm a skeptic.
What are you, Lemon? Am I
So watch him carefully.
Masonic, Jesuit, Vatican?
No care about none of that. Don't give a fuck about none of
You
that.
just called me a Mason, bro. What the fuck?
No, I call you a mainstream puppet.
Mainstream.
It's
Sorry.
his accent. Mainstream puppet, he said.
Got it.
So what did we
Can't
find
know
out about
atheist.
our?
what did we find out about Artemis missions? Do we have any going?
Nobody
on for the next few
cares.
Years?
We're not going to the moon, bro. It's all fake.
It's not happening, Moya. Not happening.
It's all fake.
As of December 2020, they are still planning for Artemis 1, which is the going to the moon and flying around it, November this year.
Cool. With men. Is it going to be manned or unmanned?
And what happened to that date after the recent setback? Didn't they blow up or some stupid shit?
Is Artemis going to be manned or unmanned?
Software failure, something. Which one was
Chimpanzee
that?
first,
Is that a
Jeremy. I
different
got
company?
the scoop.
We don't need
Kurt
chimps.
keeps stopping my question from being asked. Is Artemis going to be manned or unmanned?
See, make sure you bomb in with something completely fucking relevant.
Which phase of Artemis, Jeremy? Tell us which phase you're talking about.
Any of them? Are we going to have any kind of manned missions past the moon?
Well, when
I
they
don't
say
know.
I'm
They're
going to look it up.
Right, Artemis 1.
I don't think you're
that's planned for
going anywhere, so
November.
this is all fantasy in my mind.
Hello. Artemis 1 that's planned for November is uncrewed. It's a full test of the system to take it around the moon and back. That's uncrewed. And Artemis 2, which will be the first crewed system, is planned to launch some point next year in 2022.
Why would they do that?
Artemis
Don't they know
3
how much shielding they need? Why send this whole thing around the moon? Why not
Because you
just put
test
the
the
right
whole
amount of
system.
shielding on it?
You test
We've
the
already
whole
been
system
out
to make
there.
sure that you don't have any fucking unforeseen.
You have
powers or
absolutely
genes.
no idea how to test anything, do you?
They
think
already
you
did
can
it back in the
create
69 and early 70s.
That's
Never
what I mean.
did it,
We did
Joe,
this
Jose.
already.
Never did it, Jose.
That's
Never
already been
it.
done.
radiation.
And
Never done it with the
then
Artemis.
China, India, other people have been landing shit
We've
on the
never
moon too.
done it
How the
with-
fuck you
with
don't know
Artemis.
that?
Jose,
They
what the
never
fuck is
done it
wrong
on
with you?
Apollo 11, but
Have we
they
ever
still
done it
did
with Artemis?
Why are you crying, Mojo?
They
What's
were on
special
manned
about
missions
Artemis?
around
You're
the
not
moon.
going
happy.
anywhere.
Ask
You
him why.
can't have a reasonable argument over this.
You've
You
got
can't
to test
do
it
it.
first. Fuck's sake.
Why didn't they send a
I don't know,
unmanned mission with all the Apollo stuff for Apollo 11 before they tried to go with the human?
Mojo, you
Jeremy
alright over
can't
there?
even drain the fat from the ground beef before he adds the Velveeta kit.
It gives it more flavor. Relax. It's tastier.
He leaves
Because
all the
Jeremy,
fat
that
in the
was the
pan
same period
and
of
feeds it to
history
his
that
kids.
the American government was
Disgusting.
irradiating its own people,
Yeah.
actually throwing out cadmium into the atmosphere to see how potential chemical attacks would occur, and a variety of other things. The level of due process care about human life was a bit less because you couldn't sue the arse out of everybody for anything in America at that time. You can now, so it's all good.
Yeah, there were
Not
Apollo
sequitur.
unmanned flights. What are you talking about, dude? Do you not know anything? Is that the
Whoever
problem?
the guy's talking just now, we can't hear you. Your mic sucks. Just stop talking. Was that Black Death? We don't.
Jeremy, I hear him fine.
Uh,
You're the one who's mishearing the guy.
Jeremy,
Yeah,
I must have it
disconnect,
turned
Jeremy.
down.
Jeremy's
I
being
must have it
Disconnect.
turned down because
There
he
was
chats.
three-
he
Your
chats
shit's
nonsense.
fucked up, Jeremy. You got to
in
disconnect.
about 4 seconds. But
Nah, I got him turned down because he chats nonsense. Maybe.
Well, that's a good reason for everybody turning you down, then, isn't it?
No, I speak the truth to the youth.
You're full of
You've
shit.
got a fucking clue what the truth is. You've never even shook hands with it.
I'm taking Curved's advice.
And I wish that I could just ask dumbass
Yeah,
questions that I could look up in about 4 seconds, just all day long. Just have a room.
Exactly.
Alright, there wasn't any unmanned Apollo missions, and then wait for somebody to do my research for me.
We decided that Jeremy's now gone beyond being schooled by us all, and he's now in detention for being.
No, we decided
no,
if
I
we went
take you
to the
guys to
moon or
school
not.
every
That's
day,
what we're doing.
Ross.
Got to figure out because Jose.
So this is what they decided to do now. Tell us how uneducated we are, how we don't know how to analyze anything. Keep it up, guys. You're doing great. The
You're right.
projection is
Jeremy's giving you
gigantic.
Google. It's
They
a
got
fundamental
nothing,
problem
Jose.
when you
They
sit
got
here and
nothing.
ask questions that you can look up yourself in about 2 seconds.
What
You
was
guys
the
got
first?
nothing.
So is that your approach then? So you just find papers that agrees with what you already believe. Therefore, it's a fact. You don't even question it. You don't even think ever outside the box. That's what I call a mainstream puppet. Maybe a mainstream cock. Is more
It's
accurate.
called confirmation. It's called confirmation bias, Jose. They can't get out of their box. You're right.
I
Their
think
box.
they were
I think the
asking a first order question, one that could have been answered just by a quick search. It's not a matter of being a puppet at that point.
So
If you
what should
ask-
I do? Type in the moon landings happen when
Jose,
the
wait.
men land on the moon. I'm gonna find it on Google, right? Therefore, moon landing is happening.
Laziness.
No, what the fuck is going on here?
It's not a matter of did they have it. It's a matter of first order information of did they do this. Now, if the mainstream answer for that is readily available, it is not up to us to provide the mainstream answer at all times when you could do your own research. That's what people are getting on.
I'm gonna Google if men play golf in the moon. Hold on.
We didn't play golf.
Well, I mean, the difference is, though, Jose, is you're talking about the difference between you asking me how many people in a football team, how many people in an American football team, how many people in a baseball team, how many people in a cricket team, you know, and when these are things you can easily look up. Now, if we want to talk about a particular instance, like, you know, a play that we all disagree about, that's where, you know, we'd all bring our evidence to the table. But you don't say, you know, well, you know, I don't know how many people are in an NFL team. I'll go and look it up, would be my view. It's not.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Kimo and Jeremy and guys, I see. Sorry, I mean, I just Googled, and yeah, a man hit a golf on a golf on the moon. So I think we're done.
Over. They did it.
It's over, Jose. You convinced me.
It's over.
All over.
You know that wasn't the scope of what the objection was.
They did that as a bit of fun.
Oh, okay. So let me then ask Google if any men have stepped on the moon. Okay, that will be answer, I guess.
That also wasn't the scope of the question that he could have easily looked up.
No.
He said they didn't send any Apollo missions unmanned, and that was
Jose. They
didn't send any unmanned Apollo missions to the moon.
Hey, Jeremy, are you just interrupting continuously for no reason?
Nobody was talking.
There was somebody talking.
No, there were 3 people talking.
I don't think you can hear very well.
Apollo
Whoever
7
just said
was
that
the
is
first
definitely lost.
Your AirPods suck, bro. You need to get something you can hear with.
Am
You
I
talk over
low?
people all
I
the
can
time.
hear you fine, Curve.
No, your AirPods blow.
No, AirPods are to jump off.
There it
No,
is.
well, they're killing you.
Nah, they're
You might have to get sent over. You might have to get sent over to Brandon's server if you can't control yourself.
My AirPods are straighter than 6 o'clock, bro.
Now this is interesting. These results. Did men land on the moon? The results are interesting. For real, yeah, I like it.
You should look at WikiLeaks.
At least there's more skeptics than actually you guys believe there are.
There's been a WikiLeaks.
Well, I think
exposure,
like
Jose.
70.
There's been a WikiLeaks. They exposed the set. Jose, I don't know if you've seen that.
No, they didn't.
I think like 70% of Russians and 50% of people from England believe that it's fake, the moon landings.
So,
50% huge percentage.
In England, what happened to farmers?
Huge percentage of the population believe that it was fake.
No, I don't think half of Britons believe the moon landing is fake.
Yeah, half of England, yeah.
I believe that 27.3% of Americans believe that sausages give you herpes.
Is that a real poll, or did you just make that shit
I just
up?
made it
Well, I
up.
don't know. You're making shit up.
We know
so
you're
I
just
can't
making
make
it
it
up.
I've got a
Making
true
shit up,
stat that's
bro.
ridiculous. Nearly 50% of Americans thought Trump would make a good president. I rest my case.
Yeah. Well, that's
And they were right.
objective now, isn't it?
So, anyway, first manned Apollo mission was number 7.
Guys, we got an expert here. We got Farmer's Boy. He knows all about space.
4, 5, and 6 were sent into orbit without any astronauts on.
He doesn't only knows about space. He commits to it, like it's fact.
Well, it is fact.
And he's good at Google.
And he's good at Google, yeah. Google is my friend.
Jeremy, I hear
So,
you
yes,
like
they
a tough
did
guy
extensive
over at
testing.
Brandon's server.
And
that true?
7 didn't leave Earth orbit. 8
God
went
damn
to
it.
the moon, but that's all they did. They went to the moon, went around it, and came back. 9
One didn't get off the landing pad.
Yeah, 9 didn't leave Earth orbit. 10 went to the moon and they practiced, but they didn't actually land on the moon. Actually, Apollo 11 that they actually put boots on the moon. That's how much they practiced and rehearsed and tested everything.
Got 3 years for Artemis. That's too short.
Farmers, by the way, before I spoke behind your back, so I want to say it now because I didn't see that you were muted. Oh, he's still. Oh man, I thought. My apologies. I thought.
It's Farmer's Boy and me. We sound really alike when we're speaking.
I'm sorry, bro.
Rakia apologises. That will go down in fucking history.
From July of
not Rakia.
From July of 2019, UK folks, 21% of them believe it might have been an elaborate hoax.
Might have been.
Now, Farmer's Boy is the person that if I ask him, what will happen if the sun disappears? He's like, oh, yeah, I seen a documentary and I can also Google it. Shout out to Farmer's Boy.
Thank you, Jose.
And he will tell me what will happen like it's a fact.
Yeah, he will read it line for line. Yep, that's Farmer's Boy.
Not necessarily.
This has got a leg up on you in the read.
But the information's there, the photos are there, the film, the eyewitness accounts from everybody who wasn't connected with NASA is there. You know, I put the link up earlier on about the schoolboys in Kettering, which is not too far up the road from me. You know, there's all sorts of things that show that a dirty great big rocket went into orbit and then a part of it went to the moon and then came back again several days later. And they did that several times over.
There's a big something separated from reality that you guys are not seeing. We're like Amy over here and whoever say Florida doesn't exist. I never been there. I can't go there. So you got this disbelief and this separation of reality that things on Earth if we make a little effort, we can go. If we spend money, we can go. But things outside Earth, nobody of us can go.
You can still go. It just takes more effort.
None
of us can go, bro. That's your non-reality that you think is reality.
You can pay to go into space. You just have to be a multi-millionaire to do it.
Jose,
that's your believing fantasy. Yeah, believing fantasies.
Yes. Jose, you just made me think of something. The China fallacy. Where they say, "Oh, have you been to China?"
yeah. That motherfucker is here on Earth, in the land we stand on.
Have you ever seen it?
You inspired me on that one, Jose. The China fallacy. That's mine.
I never been to China, but if you give me enough money today, I can buy a fucking plane ticket and I'll go today.
Prove it.
Yes. Yeah, give me the money. Give me the money. I'll prove it to you.
Get your own damn money.
Oh, well, then go fuck yourself. I don't got to give you anything. Go fuck yourself, you pussy.
That's irrelevant, though, Jose, whether you can go there or not. If China was a hoax, of course you would believe that you could go there. The point is,
might be a big film set.
Hang on. The point is, you operate as if China exists without having been there. Therefore,
I have a question, China.
Hang on. Therefore, we know that your requirement for knowing something exists is not going there or even having the ability to go there.
Yes, I got the ability to go. I can go today if I want to.
How do you know?
Give me the money and I'll prove you right or wrong.
How do you know you're not going to prove yourself wrong? It's fake.
Well, if I prove myself wrong, I am honest and I humble myself and I'll tell you I was wrong.
Jim, we got more than 10,000 people, though.
But again, you expect someone else to do the work for you to pay for you.
Okay,
how do you know you have? How do you know you've
got way more than 10,000 people?
How do you know?
A better example would be Antarctica or the North Pole. Very few people have been there, but most people accept that they exist.
It exists. And Puerto Rico also exists. I was born and raised there, unless I was born in some kind of a matrix.
I don't believe you. Show me the video you were born.
You don't have to believe me. You're a pussy.
I want to see you born.
Costa Rica or Aruba.
You are too brainwashed to believe anything that you don't Google.
We all know that the world didn't exist until last Tuesday anyway. It was just popped into existence. You can't prove me wrong on that.
When are we going to work on the really is level, guys? Get into fantasy land.
You're moaning about us, but let's hold you to the percentage standard.
Oh yeah.
You know, or are you just lumping everybody into one group for ease of sake? I won't do that because I'm not a hypocrite.
No, I don't like generalizations. That's what you guys are doing with me. Generalizing about, because I don't believe in the moon landings, you believe I'm a flat earther, and I don't believe in fucking China.
I mean, we
That's
are
not
pretty
generalization.
much justified not to accept this because we can't go again, and there is no evidence that we went there. So you don't really have a justified belief.
Apart from the moon rock they brought back.
That was
and the
wood.
laser reflectors they left
You mean the
behind.
petrified wood?
And
The difference here is Jose uses
the laser reflector.
You don't.
And the cunt brings up the petrified wood. What?
Oh, I knew you'd love that one.
I mean, somebody there put in an analogy earlier.
please
Somebody
explain.
there saying something about Holocaust denier and put my name in the same sentence. What the fuck does that mean? You know, what the fuck is that?
Essie, will you please explain all the details about that piece of petrified wood?
I could care less. I just said it like that.
You see?
Ask the Dutch government if you want details.
Was it not somebody
the Dutch government
scamming? And somebody tried to fucking sell it.
No, it was something that was given to I think one of the ambassadors or sub-ambassadors for the Netherlands.
It wasn't. Okay.
I thought it was given to them as a present. It just wasn't a real rock. It was like a joke.
Yes, the story I heard.
It's been given a piece of moon rock. He's only his family ever said that he claimed he was given a piece of moon rock. Only his family ever claimed that it was a piece of moon rock. And when it was tested, it turned out it wasn't. It was nothing to do with the Dutch government. He happened to be a Dutch diplomat of some sort. But it was
So my
it's a complete
basic analysis was reasonably right. I didn't say it was the Dutch government. I said it was a member of the ambassador staff for the Netherlands. Thanks.
He was an ex-prime minister. Actually, he was a previous. He was the prime minister that was the prime minister at the end of the Second World War.
Yeah, the story that I heard that a man died and they were cleaning out a desk, and in that desk was a small plaque of some sort that said moon rock, but the rock had gotten broken off. And there were amongst others, and they found a piece of rock in that desk or something, and they said, "Oh, there's the moon rock." They stuck it back on there and gave it to somebody.
That'll be £1 million.
Yeah, I mean that's the way that I heard that it happened. That the moon rock.
Whichever way it is, you can guarantee there's money in there somewhere, can't you?
You're almost right. There were two things. There was the rock, and there was this little card. It was about the size of a business card, maybe a little bit larger, that went with it. And it said something along. It doesn't mention moon rock. It doesn't mention the rock at all, but it does mention the visit of the Apollo astronauts and the date. But that's all. So I think they put 2 and 2 together and made 5.
Yeah.
We can make some money here. Fuckers.
Well, they didn't make any money because this was part of Dries' estate, and it was gifts and things like that he'd been given while he was prime minister. So it was put on display in a museum. I don't think there's any money involved.
The point is that people like SE spout this as a proof that the moon rocks don't actually exist, when of course it's nothing of the sort.
Correct.
That we agree on.
Basically a meme at this point.
Well, I think SE's becoming a meme.
So the
quality of
technology
is really terrible.
I mean, the regression of technology.
It's not a regression of technology. We use different technology.
We now have space.
Well, did you tell them about all the
stage
moon
rockets
rocks
that
that
can
we found
land
in Antarctica,
themselves?
though?
And you think technology has regressed? Fucking amazing.
I don't think I know technology has regressed.
What do you know about technology? You ain't got a fucking clue.
We've devolved in.
I'm gonna get rid of my iPhone and buy a fucking Nokia brick, I think.
We have devolved in human space.
Dynatone with a ring on it. Bing! Ring!
I'd like to see how easy it would be to build a Viking ship or a US Clipper ship.
We've devolved in human space travel since then. That's.
I want period accurate US Clipper ship built.
So we can now put stuff into orbit cheaper than ever before using fully recyclable first stage rockets that can land themselves on a fucking drone ship. And you think we've gone backwards? Us just
Can I ask?
Concord
for hundreds of days.
Let me ask about. Let me ask a quick question. Can I ask about the fuel? So the fuel, is it in liquid form in space, in its container?
Does that
no
really
idea.
matter? Yes.
So
Actually, I don't know. Yes, hypergolic fuels are liquid.
They're liquid.
Is this in a liquid? So you got this liquid in a vacuum.
It's in a container, dumbass.
Oh, it's the vacuum.
Yeah, you got it in a container. It's in a container, but it's in the vacuum. So it's in flying for 3 days through the vacuum.
No,
it's not a vacuum. It's pressurized with nitrogen, Chemo.
No. The liquid is in a container.
Yes,
I understand that. I get
liquid's
that.
in a container, and it's got gas pressure on top of it.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not
pressurized.
arguing that. I'm saying you've got the liquid in the container, around the rocket, inside, but that is in a vacuum outside.
I have a map gas cylinder here.
Well, what would happen to the liquid
in 10 years? What would happen if you put it into a vacuum? It would probably deplode or explode or something. It's not built to be put into a. Obviously, if you're going to put it into a vacuum, you put it into a container that would stand up to a vacuum.
How? So what kind of container?
How the fucking hell do I know? I don't make rockets.
I'll tell you, if you put the engineering tolerances on that nat gas bottle, you almost certainly could put that inside of a vacuum. It's going to have a 25-50% overage margin of safety on it.
Can you demonstrate that in a vacuum down here?
Could.
I just demonstrated it.
Yeah, you probably can.
Probably.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I demonstrated it right there. It's an experiment with a banana.
You realise you've got liquid
in gas
in a vacuum.
Engineering tolerances, they don't usually build things with only a immediate failure upon reaching the level that it's built to.
But either the liquid would become a solid, or it would expand into space.
Why?
It's got
It
lower
wouldn't
pressure.
expand into space because it's in a fucking
tank.
bottle.
It's in a pressurized container, you prat.
Yeah, but you've got low pressure.
Where's it going to
around
expand to? Does it matter?
A piece of steel or a piece of metal between you and
You've got gas in a gas tank here.
Have you
Put it in a
never
vacuum
seen-
or a near fucking vacuum. It will not bleed through the metal. It may blow up because it's not meant to be there.
Have you not
If you're going
seen
to build
that?
something to go into a vacuum,
Have you
it
not
doesn't
seen-
fucking blow up.
Have you not
That's
seen
why
that-
when aeroplanes fly, they don't crash because they're built to fucking fly. Cars are the same, aren't they? Cars don't crash because they're built not to fucking crash.
Have you
And
not
if you
seen
try and
them
use an airplane as a
giant
submarine, it won't
tankers
work.
where they
It'll
draw the
crash.
air out and the can will crush?
And if you try and fly a submarine, it might explode.
Yeah, so like I say, we've seen those giant steel cans crush because of the vacuum that's inside.
Those steel cans are not designed to keep up with it.
Are you all trying to
The
out-retard?
pressure is backwards on this, Emo.
Exactly. So if you were to take a container with liquid
it's a pressure vessel.
inside,
It's not containing a vacuum in space.
Yes, but have you seen what happens to a liquid in a
Low
vacuum?
pressure is outside. It's got positive pressure inside.
Exactly. So if you've got positive pressure inside, that's the very point, Blue. If there's positive pressure inside and lower pressure outside, how does that manage through 3 days of vacuum?
What you do, Kimo?
It's the same reason me fucking map gas here doesn't come out. Look, acetylene here. I've got some WD-40. Can't hear it. Hang on. Hear that?
How many
20
bar in
fucking
that
years?
That if we were to
How many
demonstrate
bar in
this
that
in a
map
vacuum,
gas
we
can?
wouldn't be able to have liquids in a
That's
container.
urethane plus aerosol moisture removing anti-corrosion compound for electrical equipment. No idea what it is, but it's been in there for 10 years plus.
So we're talking about space, not here on Earth, space.
You put it in a fucking vacuum.
Yeah. So can you show liquid in a vacuum that doesn't expand?
Yeah.
Kimo, I used an ultracentrifuge. Ultracentrifuges operate at a vacuum. The centrifuge tubes spin around. Those centrifuge tubes contained liquid, usually sucrose or glycerol or cesium chloride density gradients. It's not a problem, mate.
Well, that's what we're looking for. We're looking to see that you can have a can with liquid inside.
Do submarine petrol tanks blow up?
Mathematically,
they go
it
under
would
the,
work.
they go
I get
under the
that.
sea.
I get
They don't
mathematics.
Aircraft
understand the
fucking petrol
magical
tanks
powers.
blow up when they fucking fly.
They
No,
don't.
because they're built not to fucking blow up.
One day this will end. Okay,
You can't
Kimo.
say it's pop. You
No,
put
okay.
CSI
Let me try again.
Interrupting, Fred. Please stop.
I'm holding. I'm waiting.
Calm down, Fred.
All right, so Kimo, they don't understand the magical powers of vacuum. Why don't you display them?
Well, I'm just saying, how would the liquid be contained in the vacuum?
No, demonstration. Demonstration, Kimo.
Demonstration what? I'm just asking. I asked the question.
Demonstrate the
fuel...
effect of this vacuum.
I asked the question.
Just
is the
demonstrate
liquid...
it, and we can be done with this.
Is the fuel a liquid? You said yes. So is it going into the vacuum?
No, the vacuum, Kimo. Set them straight. Show them.
But is space
Let's quit bickering about this. Show them the magical power of the vacuum. Go ahead.
What's the
Show us the
vacuum?
power of the vacuum.
What's the power of the vacuum in a tin of WD-40 or Bucky Map gas or whatever?
Show us
Or
the
a bottle of
magical powers.
acetylene.
Did you
Shut
hear
up.
what I said about the ultracentrifuge?
There you
It
went.
pulls down to a really, really strong vacuum in the chamber. There is liquid in the tubes. The liquid stays in the tubes because they're sealed. It's
Timo doesn't
simple as
believe that
that.
unless you've got a timestamped YouTube video of you doing it, even though we know it's a real thing.
Yeah, do you have that? Do you have a video of that?
No, I don't have a video of doing that, but I've done it hundreds of times.
Okay,
But if it's not a YouTube video, it's not real.
Not really science, though, is it?
You've not done it yourself.
Fuck off.
You can't.
You don't know
It's,
fuck all about
if you've not
science,
done it
you know.
yourself, you can't use it as evidence.
Video does not equal science.
It's not science.
Well, you say
is
that
it?
when
Said Kimo.
you say that when you go up a mountain, your ears pop. If you were to go even higher, your blood would boil.
Don't say you're up a mountain when your ears pop. Your ears do pop.
Yeah,
He's
you
been up
say
a mountain
that you
and
would
their ears
need-
are popped.
Fred,
If
you're
you
not
don't have a spa- if you didn't have a
Fred, he
spacesuit,
agrees with it. He agrees that it happens, but he thinks it only happens to unhealthy people.
I must be unhealthy then.
no. But my point is that your blood boils. Yes.
Your blood boiling is not the cause of ear popping.
Not at 37 foot, no.
That's why we're saying we know that an astronaut suit would not work in a vacuum because they would
How-
explode, and that's why
And the pressure inside is for
it doesn't matter what you do to the astronaut
Kimo,
suit. you
Kimo,
can't
it's
show.
okay. We know you're retard. You don't have to.
Yeah, but again, you don't obviously
fucking
understand how.
rub it in.
Yeah, fucking.
You're not understanding how a vacuum would work versus a
Oh,
higher
this is
pressure.
coming from a science illiterate retard.
Oh,
like
it's
you.
not. It's not us that's not understanding chemo. It's you that
It's
doesn't
you.
understand.
Can you please demonstrate this vacuum to us and its magical properties that you keep alluding to? Can you please show us this?
Show you what? What's to show? The idea is that we can
What
have
you're
a
what you're talking about? Demonstrate what you're saying.
what? So you want to see liquid in a vacuum?
No, I want you
see a
to. I want
tin
you to
in a
show me. I
vacuum.
want you to show me that an astronaut suit doesn't work in a vacuum, and I want you to explain to me and show me why that wouldn't work.
Because of the difference in pressure.
This is a fucking fallacy, Kimo. Hold on. Hold the fuck up. This is fallacious. You're saying this shit don't exist. They're saying it does, and they want you to prove it.
No, it's
Fucking
not that at all. We're
fallacious
asking
shit.
him to back up his claim.
Yeah, he made a claim.
it won't work.
Never seen that. We've never experimented with an astronaut suit
Then
in a
you could say
vacuum.
you don't know if it'll work, not that you know it doesn't. Don't get it twisted, Kimo.
Oh right,
burden
so
is on
pigs
you.
can fly. We don't know if pigs can
All
fly
you
because we've never seen a
assholes
pig
have
fly.
presented the
But maybe
evidence.
pigs can fly. Is that your idea?
Can if you kick them hard enough?
Well, there you go. One day.
We gave you the videos. You say that they're not real. Now it's up to you.
Gave videos of what?
People in vacuums.
What have you tested an astronaut suit in a vacuum?
Did I say that?
It doesn't matter what we're doing right now, Kimo. You're the one who
Should
keeps
imagine
making.
they have been tested.
Yeah, so we've seen.
You need a
people-
video of me to deny. I see.
Well, yeah, we need to see that
You need
someone
to
is
video
making
of
that
me
claim
doing it. Right,
that they could
right.
test what they're talking
Me
about.
just- so if you really don't want video, you really want to just experience it yourself, because if I do it, then you'll just say that it's fake.
Why?
I don't know why. Because you're a fucking moron.
No, we'll be able to question.
It's something you've actually done before when Moyak has actually shown you a video of him doing it in person. I saw you say you faked it.
No. Again, all we're saying is that the liquid,
No.
liquid in a vacuum, going to boil, right? And
Yes, and it's still a liquid. So you have a liquid in a vacuum.
No, because then it will turn to a solid.
It was liquid before it turned into a solid.
Yeah, so it'll be liquid. Then all the gases will escape.
So that means you're abstracting. Can you have liquid in a vacuum? Yes, you can.
Turn into a solid.
So that's what we
The
need.
whole time it's boiling, it's liquid.
What's the why didn't they use the vacuum chamber that they put the ball and feather in? Why did they change the vacuum? Why is this a smaller one? What's the point of that? Is that what space
I would
is so
say that
small?
the chances of if you have a failure point in there, you probably have a lot longer time to recover. So you'd be a lot less safe.
It's not a big deal. You can make a trapdoor so they just fall straight under the ground. Not a big
That
deal.
would slam you into the ceiling.
No, under the ground, Moyuk.
Right, that would slam you into the ceiling. As soon as you open it up, the air would blow in. And Mach 1
Well,
smash
not
in
if
the
you've got
ceiling.
harnesses, Moyuk.
Okay. So harness
yeah.
people
Try to use your brain.
in
You
a
don't
giant
think
vacuum
about.
chamber.
You're not a problem solver at all, are you?
Retard on the internet's incredulity.
You're not really good at problem solving, are you? So these things can be shown to be true instead of just an equation, right?
You
that's
ain't
what they're
got a
looking for.
Fucking clue about anything, have you?
So I think the idea of liquid in space with fuel is not reality, right? In a vacuum.
Isn't it? Do you know what one of those
Absolutely,
two fuels is in the SpaceX? Do you know what the SpaceX first stage runs on?
No. Is it a liquid?
No, you don't. See, you don't, do you?
I don't know. Is it a liquid?
They're both liquids. One of them is liquid oxygen. How cold do you think that already is?
I don't know.
No, I know you don't.
If it's a liquid and it goes into a vacuum, there's going to be problems.
Why? It's in a aluminium lithium pressure fuel tank.
Yeah, but there's
It never goes into a vacuum.
If you had a metal that was too... See, the problem
it's in a
is...
fuel tank and then it goes into the rocket and gets burned.
How many times?
It never goes into a vacuum.
How many times we're going to have to tell you, Chemo? It's not in a vacuum. There is a nitrogen pressure blanket on top of it. It is pressurized.
It's in an alloy
Those
tank.
tanks are pressurized.
Yeah, but the problem is that if the metal, whatever the container is, it can't be too heavy, and it has to be light enough.
Not too heavy.
But if it's light enough,
It's an aluminium lithium alloy.
yeah, if it's light enough,
We
it's
do
going
our
to be too
best
weak.
not to launch water heaters into space. You're goddamn right. It can't be too heavy.
Yeah, it can't be too heavy, and if it's too light, it's too.
Why are you telling us this? You have no understanding.
When you
of
finish your engineering degree, come back and tell us all about it, Chemo.
Yeah. Come
No,
back
I'm
and
just good
tell
at problem
the
solving.
the
That's
actual
all.
engineers how it's done.
I'm able to problem solve. If there's a problem,
No, you're not.
I can
You can't
solve
tell,
it.
you can't, you can't tell Blue Marble. He knows what a container is, Chemo.
He does. And an open pipe isn't a container.
Thank you.
Hey, Kim, I got one for you. I was using one of those vacuum sealers to put some meat in, and you suck the air out of the bag, and I realized that it's not sucking the air out of the bag. The atmosphere is crushing the meat.
Yeah, that would have been the case if we had gravity. But Jeremy, you can carry on now. I just wanted to make that point about the liquid in the vacuum.
It's from point A to point B there, Chemo.
Chemo just want to remind us how fucking thick he is. Thank you, Chemo.
Hey, Chemo, quit riling everyone up and quit saying things that are so stupid that Jeremy doesn't know better than to believe you're being serious.
Yeah.
These guys got nothing for me, Chemo.
Let's find out.
No, we haven't got nothing for you because you don't want to know.
Because you're out of touch with reality.
They have evidence of a globe, Jeremy.
I can't believe you just said that.
How can they be globers without evidence, Jeremy? Does that make sense?
We have.
I mean, they got a little half-ass evidence, nothing definitive though. It's not like you would have knowledge at this point.
Oh, what?
Nothing empirical.
Mountains of evidence that you morons have for a flat.
Yeah, all your shit's flimsy. It's not definitive, not
Jeremy,
empirical.
with enough skepticism or denialism, everything escapes the ability to be considered definitive. We've been through this %. We'll go through it with you. As long as there is a dissenting voice, that means that things are not definitive according to the way that y'all view things. Stop that.
No,
bullshit.
that's not true.
Yes, it is. It's exactly.
What would you consider definitive evidence?
scientific, demonstrable, observable, it's got to be repeatable on a whim, on the tap.
I was asking what you would consider, not what sort of evidence. Give me the evidence that you would consider to be definitive.
Okay, so if you had a practical measurement of curvature,
we have that. You would just say it was fake. You would take it. You would have an issue with it, even if you could repeat it.
No. You didn't let me finish. You let me finish a little bit. So you force the line. So that's a practical demonstration. That's a practical measurement, a practical ruler, so to speak.
It's been done.
That's never been done.
Force the line is something nobody's going to do because it's really stupid.
Well,
and
he asked us what we
the original
wanted.
version wasn't going to
That's
differentiate
what we
anything.
mean by definitive.
The version also won't differentiate anything. Jeremy's is too fucking complicated to do it.
I don't have one.
We don't even know what the fuck to do with Jeremy's force the line things.
I don't have one
because he can't explain them.
I don't have one.
You don't have one what, Jeremy?
An experiment to do or a measurement to do to tangibly measure the Earth. I don't have one. I don't know what the fuck that guy's talking about.
What happened to your straight lines? What happened to all of your? What happened to your self-leveling concrete bullshit? Don't tell me you don't have one.
We don't have the capability to draw a straight line, so we don't have one.
You can't draw a straight line.
Glad you fucking agreed with that. You can't draw a straight line over the distance that he wants to, and it'd be feasible.
I can draw a straight line. It's a piece of piss.
Can you draw one over a mile long, though?
Why would I want to do that?
Because that's what he wants.
So
then you put the water up to. You make a straight line, and you put the water up to it, and we say, "Oh, look, it in fact is curving." Or no, wait, it's not curving. It's flat all the way.
That's definitive for Jeremy, yeah. That would be definitive.
Yeah. If you knew the line was straight, yeah. If you were sure that it was a straight line, you'd probably want other techniques to go up along that straight line, so you'd have a bunch of straight lines. You wouldn't want.
But if you look at it, say, I feel like you've done something wrong, and that could be enough to say that it's not definitive in the worldview that keeps getting given to us, especially that with you.
That's why you wouldn't want just one straight line. You'd want a bunch of methods, and that way you could judge them against each other and be like, "Oh, yeah, they are all straight." Or if you had one that was way wacky, you'd be like, "Oh, it wasn't a good method. We'll throw that one out."
Yeah, it's
how many different
outside. You can't...
do you think are available of making a damn near perfectly straight line over that distance?
Well, we don't even have one, so 0.
Right. So what do you do with multiple methods?
So it's got to be outside.
You're just throwing that out there as if like you've got your choice of all these different methods.
Well, the vacuum in a laser tube
that you seem to require.
The laser in a vacuum tube could be a method. I don't really know if I trust that. I mean, you guys say LIGO did it, but they're doing some absurd shit there, so I don't even believe them.
There we go. Once again, you would find a way to say that no, it's not real.
Not definitive.
It's already been done. You say that you don't want it from them. You want it. You want it from us. You want it from yourself.
1.5 black ABS pipe. Seal that shit up over a mile. Evacuate it. Laser at one end. Look at it from the other. Shim it up until you can see the laser and see how high you got to bring it up above.
And that laser's not gonna bend when the peaks hit the peaks and the peaks hit the troughs.
What peaks and troughs?
And the light rays have peaks and troughs.
You're gonna have
hit each other. You can get a bending. You can get a bending of light even with no external force. So even if you take refraction out of it, you can still have the bending of this laser beam.
We're using a high quality collimated tunnel boring laser.
Yeah, did you hear what I said about the peaks and the troughs?
There's no atmosphere in it. It's evacuated.
This is non-external.
How deep are these peaks and troughs you're talking about?
That's only an apparent curve, Jeremy. And there's a lot of shit that goes into that.
Yeah, and you want to build this pipe according to that possible apparent curve.
Fine, abandon that too. Make sure nothing gets done.
I want something again. I don't feel like that would be definitive. I don't think that would be definitive.
Of course not, because you got a bullshit excuse for everything.
It's not bullshit. It's the peaks and the troughs.
It's a pathetic excuse too.
How deep are the peaks and troughs of a laser light?
And how do the peaks and troughs lead to turning or curving?
You get when the peaks interact with the peaks and the peaks interact with the troughs.
Yeah, that's not going to cause a turn though.
You can get you get a parent. It's not actually bending, but you get a parent bending.
What you get is
Visually.
you get an increase in the diffraction or increase in the width, but you're not going to get a turning or a bending.
No, you get a parent bending, not actual bending. A parent bending.
I don't know what apparent bending means. If it's not bending, then it's not apparently bending.
It means it's not actually bending, but visually
all you're
it's
doing
bending.
is increasing the magnitude. If you have two lasers and they match each other up with peaks and troughs, you can increase its magnitude, but you can't turn it that way.
Jeremy found an article that he read part of and understands a very little bit of it, and now he's king of laser understanding.
Is this like education where he had the entire fucking thing wrong as well?
I read the whole article and I didn't get it wrong. You guys just don't understand.
You are wrong, Jeremy. Though
No, you got it wrong, Jeremy.
Almost everything you say
It's
is
the original source, because what you posted the other day was just a report about it written by a non-scientist.
I'll tell you what, Jeremy, I was thinking about what you're saying about NASA, and I'll tell you, if you think we've devolved, I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem is that the true American geniuses are all choosing alternative career paths like you. If people like you would have just chosen NASA, we certainly would be more evolved than we are, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. If I was up in there.
Yeah.
The point is, Veach, 50 years ago, we sent a man around the moon.
So what?
And now 50 years later, here we are, and we can't even do it.
Of course we can do it. You say we can't do it, and that's just that's literally a lie. We haven't
Why
done
aren't they
it.
doing it?
We haven't done it. We don't have plans to do it on any particular date, but we can do it. It's certainly technically feasible.
I thought you had plans in 2024.
Well, 2024 hasn't passed yet, has it? You keep acting as if we didn't do it in 2024, but it's only 2021. You know that, right?
So it's still on for 2024.
I don't even
know. But it'll be a few years later. It will happen sooner rather than later.
There was them saying, hey, we have this sort of pie in the sky idea that maybe in 2024 we'll try. Or if they said, on June 17th, 2024, we're launching a mission. I don't know which it is.
Veach, they've been saying since the 90s they were going to go back to the moon. Come on.
They've been saying it, though, in that pie in the sky way, and that way that presidents make promises that they aren't planning on keeping. And we'll go back to the moon. And everyone's like, yay. And then no one ever does anything about it. That's different than saying, okay, we have a launch. It's Artemis 1. It involves these 3 people. It's going to happen on this date. That's the plan. Saying vaguely that we're going back to sometime in the next decade, when Reagan says it, that's not a plan.
And the presidents don't actually normally say that we're going to the moon.
They do say it. They say it, but they say it in passing during campaign.
Oh, you cut off there.
Veach, what's wrong with your mic today? You sound like far away.
They say that they're going to get the space program going again. That's basically like almost every president has said that at some point or another.
Veach, step up to your mic. Say it with your chest.
They
I'm
do
using
have
an
plans.
iPad, dude. But keep talking.
It's the Artemis program. They do have plans to start the testing in 2022, and then they plan on having the first woman and the next man in 2024. That's their plans right now.
Oh my god. Veach, let's pretend you were on the moon, right? First time anyone's been on the moon. Would you be hopping around like a retard, or would you be very carefully taking every step?
I'd be hopping around like a human being for the first time on the moon.
Wouldn't you be walking carefully, making sure you have a full planet and so you don't fall down?
You do know that there are two.
I do believe that was actually a test.
Fred, stop.
You do know that at one point Armstrong
did various ways of moving on the moon. It was an experiment.
Fred, somebody was talking.
He said it was too dangerous because they were
dangerous.
He said we're not going to go.
I didn't hear anything.
We're going to go up to like 4 meters, I think it was, and then after that he's like, look, no more jumps because somebody almost fell on the back.
I have never seen anybody jump 20 feet on the moon.
And they continue to hop
about
around
6
like
inches.
No, they didn't. They stopped doing. They stopped trying to do a full jump.
Not a full jump.
I've never seen 20 foot. 4 meters, 20 feet. They have never jumped 20 feet on the moon.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. Who said that?
Hey, can we make an FC, a Fred channel, where Fred can speak 24/7, unencumbered?
Does anybody remember?
There we go. Let Democ and Fred go at it.
No, that sounds like the worst idea. Mute them both.
Here.
Does anybody remember how many garbage trucks you're supposed to be able to jump on the moon?
How many, Dev?
Fucking question.
At least one.
6 times less gravity. I mean, yeah, you should be able to jump pretty
1/6.
fucking high.
Yes, sir. You should be able to jump over a garbage truck. My teacher told me, and I could parrot that and remember it. But guess what?
With a
It's wrong.
spacesuit on and a heavy backpack.
Just because I can.
I think
my
not.
teacher told me with the suit on, the astronaut would be able to jump over the garbage truck.
Your teacher got it wrong then, didn't they?
Your teacher was an idiot.
So my
Your
teacher was an
obviously
idiot.
knew she was talking to a retard, so she figured you'd
So my
believe any
teacher was
fucking
telling me to tell you.
We have
My
taught him
teacher
wrong.
was telling me to talk to you retards.
Give up. Somehow
She was telling me to tell you an
out of the
imaginary
video,
thing.
you listen in any class. So what you talking about now?
The only class he learned was donut making.
I learned a lot of things, buddy. I learned that everything that you guys say is 80% false.
Obviously not.
Everything we say is 80% false. You didn't learn.
80%, yeah. Most of it's 99%.
So 80% of 100% of what we say is false. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you got about 20% truth to some of it, and then about 1% truth to none of it.
Some of it is at 20%. 20% of which am Demok.
50% of 100% of all the percent of 1 of the percent of 20% of 100% of your guys' stuff is bullshit.
Sounds like you don't even know what it's up and down, man. Sorry.
Well, your stuff sounds like it's right, it acts like it's right, but it's not right. But it feels right, but it's not right.
Says the moron.
This is coming from the guy.
Denmark.
If I pull copper
let's
wire.
get, what would you like to see to prove the moon landings were real from these globers?
USA on the moon, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, anything on the moon, a USA and sparkles, pink. I've said this for about 7 years now.
I would do glow in the dark.
But here, but they're launching rockets every day, and you still deny.
Expanding foam.
Are you going to deny?
Yeah, okay, Narnia.
What you
Are you
Demok,
going to
what you
deny
do is you make
USA on the face of the moon that you can see from your front yard? Would you deny USA? Let me ask my question. Globe virus. You have a globe virus and it's eating your brain. Now listen. Would you deny USA staring at it? You and your little kid, right? Any little kid you get, you can say, hey, little Timmy, look, walk outside real quick. Look outside your front door. Get you a little shitball telescope from Walmart for $20. Guess what? Look at USA on the moon. Look at that beautiful USA, red, white, and blue on the moon live, little kids, from your own front porch. Wouldn't that prove it to you?
You're spiraling.
We could not.
No, I didn't say
No, it's not. The point wasn't to do it only for people that would believe it. It was to show everybody, not say you're too retarded to see the retroreflector and believe people.
Everybody, even
D-Mock's
3-year-olds.
point is a good point.
No, it's not a good point.
Yeah,
because
okay,
You can reflect light off of the
It's
moon.
the only point, Idjit.
That's scientifically possible, and you can do it.
Yeah, okay,
You can go to an
retard.
observatory that does it.
Okay,
and you can
Narnia.
participate with them.
Yeah,
Is
all
it
right,
scientifically
Narnia.
impossible?
All
Or
right,
is it
Denmark,
impossible?
Denmark.
Is it-
That's
said
not
from your porch.
Denmark. That's not feasible for the guys here. What else can convince you of the moon landing? Not the foam or the flag. What else?
What about a reflector?
No, I'm asking Denmark.
No, I don't think a reflector's gonna work.
Right, because what you could do is you can set the lasers to.
How about
not
your
the other way.
imagination?
Hold on. Hey, Denmark, remember when you had time to talk? Yeah, give it 1 second. If we can send a laser to the moon that's not pointed at the reflector, and we don't get a return, and then we point the laser at a reflector and get a return, what would that prove in your mind, Denmark?
Did you do that in your front yard?
No, I
Let's
asked a
go do
very
it live.
specific question.
Let's go do it live.
I
I've
asked
seen
a
it
very
done.
specific question. What would that do for you?
Well, it's specifically, I need to see it.
No,
retard.
again, I asked you a very specific question. I'm looking for an answer.
Yeah, okay, about Narnia. Can we do it?
Right.
Let's
so
do
again,
it,
if
me
you
and
want
you.
to and ignore the question, that's
So
fine.
if you want to make
Just
stuff
letting you
up
know
and not
you are
demonstrate
ignoring
your
it.
claim
So
live.
Bayer, he's saying yes. He's saying that
No,
he would.
he's not. No, don't answer for him.
Oh, I trust you, but we need to validate it also right now again
thing-
and again and again every day, anytime, all day, every day. Any 3-year-old should be able to validate it, buddy.
Why?
The thing is, we've been bouncing.
Because it's
We've been
fake
bouncing.
unless otherwise.
There's
We've been
no
bouncing
reason
That's why
that
it
a
doesn't
3-year-old
exist
should
if you
do
can't.
something. There's no reason that if a 3-year-old can't do something, that it's not reality. There's no reason to make that.
Okay, Snoopy.
We've
Yeah,
been
all right,
bouncing
liar.
lasers off the moon before they even put the retro reflectors.
The Russians
Were they bouncing laser or were they bouncing radar?
Were they bouncing?
They already bounced signals
bouncing
off
off
the
the
moon.
ionosphere
radio
or the
waves.
moon.
No, they bounce laser off, but it doesn't give
Are they
you an
bouncing
exact
it off an
measurement because you don't have
ionosphere or the
you don't have
moon?
one source. You get a bunch of returns from all over the surface,
How about our
and therefore
atmosphere
it gives
goes
you a
past the
sort of a
moon?
random source. If you want to measure the moon to the inch,
They're
you
bouncing
got to
it through
measure
the
it by bouncing it
atmosphere.
off of a
Idiots.
single location.
So that's been done by before the moon landing, right? By the Russians.
You tell me, Kimo. What were they using? Were they using
Look, they
laser light
managed
or
to
were they
get
using radio
signals,
waves?
firing
You tell me.
lasers. That's it. They've done it before the reflector. End of.
All right.
Well, not
Lasers
from
and
what
radio
I
waves.
saw. Not from what I saw. They need a very powerful laser, and they
Reflector
don't
that
get
can't
any
exist.
bounce. They don't get any bounce without the reflector.
That's not true. They do get a bounce.
Well, I
Super time.
argue with the video that I saw. Okay.
You saw the wrong video, my friend.
Yeah, it was tested before they put the reflectors up there and then after, and you get a much more accurate result.
This is old
Yeah, it would take a
information.
modern laser to get that return.
Not
No,
enough
hand waving. No,
photons.
no, in denial here now.
I'll tell you is what I read.
I would just need to see the evidence of the lasers being bounced off before the reflector, because there's no doubt in my mind that they did bounce things off of it. But I would venture to say that it was radio waves getting a return
speak
rather
Russian?
than a laser light.
We already know you're a science denier and you love pseudoscience. So
No, I
know,
just said I would
there's
just
nothing
need
more
I would
talk
need to
about
see
with
the
you.
evidence. How is that
Remember
denying
when we went
anything?
through
I would
this-
just need to see the evidence.
Right. Remember when we went through the pseudoscience thing the other day, where all you have is time as your independent you love pseudoscience.
First of all, that's not what we said. If you're going to misinterpret something, why don't you ask the question of what we said?
And time can be an independent variable.
Thank you. That's what was said. Can be.
Cornbread's
Not
an independent
Yeah.
variable.
If all you
only
have,
thing.
if that's all you have is time as an independent variable, you have nothing.
That makes no sense, Jeremy.
Jeremy,
If
we're not
all
gonna
you
get
have
that
is one thing, you have nothing.
Yeah, when it's time, yes. Because if without
No,
time,
Jeremy.
there's nothing happens.
No,
what
Jeremy.
happens without time?
Give me heat without time, Jeremy.
You don't
You
need
don't have
time
heat
to
without
measure.
time because you need time
On
for
this
everything.
day,
That's
Jeremy,
what
in
it
the
is.
Give me
90s,
heat without time.
1962,
Heat
pulse
can't
laser
without
have-
pulse
time,
laser
Jeremy.
was being
can't have
bounced off the
anything
moon
without
by
time,
MIT.
There you
You
go.
don't have it curved. You don't have anything
So
without
fuck your
time.
heat. Fuck
So
your
if all
heat.
you have is time, you have
Heat
nothing.
doesn't exist. Heat can't be an independent variable.
It can be.
Time doesn't
Give me
exist.
another
Only
independent
I'm
time
mocking
exists.
you, Jeremy, because
Give
you're
me
stupid.
another
Time's a
You have all the other
concept.
conditions, and then
He just picks out this one thing and says, if that's all you have, then you
That's
have
all
nothing.
you got. That's all you got is time. When it
That's
comes to
true of
astronomy,
anything.
when it comes
That's
to
true of
astronomy, all
anything.
you got is time as an independent
Jeremy,
variable.
that's
You can't do
true of
nothing else.
anything.
You can't do nothing else.
It's
not
a
true of
meaningless
anything.
statement, like you.
Jeremy, do you
Like
remember
when your
when
wife says she loves you. It's a
With the
meaningless statement.
Jeremy,
the
do you remember
turkey
when we
cooking-
gave you 3 IVs? Do you remember when we gave you 3 IVs for astronomy? Or do you not remember that? Or are you
give
choosing
me
to
one
ignore
right.
that?
Give me one right now. We'll go
No,
over it.
we did it 7 times.
You
We did
won't give it
literally
again
7
because it
times.
was nonsense.
We
I
literally
know.
did it 7 times, Jeremy.
You won't. You didn't do it 7
reset.
times. You didn't even do it once. Kosho said it once, and I didn't hear
Kosho
him.
said it twice. I said it 3 times, and Moleman, I think, said it twice as well. We said it so many times to you.
Nice and calm.
You're choosing to ignore it.
Well, it's nice and calm in here. Why don't you give me one and we'll go over it?
Run it by me, Jeremy.
We went over it
because
7 times yesterday. We went 7 times, Jeremy.
All right, Bio, we heard you. So, Jeremy, what was their observed phenomenon?
I don't even know,
Right.
but
Thank you.
let's hear it. What's your give me an astronomy theory?
Said it 7 goddamn times, Jeremy.
All right, well, I
Let's
didn't hear it.
hear
People didn't hear
Repeating
it.
an 8th time because you have the memory of a
They
goldfish.
won't do it again, chemo, because it's nonsense.
Sorry, does it require 8 times to explain something? If that's what it
They
takes,
won't do
I'm
it
not
again,
going to do
chemo,
it.
because they got
You
nothing.
said the independent variable, Bio, 7 times. What was your observed phenomena? 1 time.
We explained all of it 7 times.
What's your observed phenomena?
No thanks, man. I
What
don't
are we
repeat
trying
things
to-
8 times.
Why don't you give me the theory first? What's the
worn out
theory
your welcome,
when it comes
Jeremy.
to astronomy?
Theory,
No,
Jeremy.
no,
what
thank
do you
you,
mean
Jeremy.
theory?
No,
What's
thank
your
you, Jeremy.
theory
I'm
in
not going to repeat it
astronomy?
an 8th time for you.
They
Step
don't have
1,
nothing, chemo. They
observe
won't
phenomenon.
repeat it.
Step 2, predict the cause to your effect. Step 3, test your hypothesis, Bio.
There's an article in the 1962 Nature magazine of people bouncing lasers off the moon.
We know, Lyle.
We know, Lyle.
We know.
Thanks.
no,
Right on
that's
time with
the key thing. That's prior to them putting the reflectors up. But the accuracy of it was all the stuff.
I was going to say as
the
well.
thing is, they like to say
when we bounce a laser off the moon now and hit a retroreflector, you also get a return from the moon.
Right. You see shit all over the place at all different distances.
Right.
That's right.
One key one right in the center.
Does anyone have an astronomy theory?
In the center of it.
Does anyone have an astronomy theory we could go over real quick?
Yeah, you let Bio get away with this a little bit. What did Jeremy? What did Jeremy get wrong in this case, Bio? Let's find out.
Kimo, what if I ignored something that you said 7 times? Let's say I ignored what you said 7 times.
They didn't say
and
it.
I asked,
Kimo, they didn't say it 7 times.
And
You're
I asked
lying.
you, to repeat it an 8th time. Would you?
You're flat out lying.
I mean,
You
we
didn't say
tend
it 7
to, because we like to share information. Because people do need.
Wondering,
We
I
do
thought
repeat
the
a lot
moon
here.
was part of astronomy, so why are we rejecting talking about the moon if it's part of astronomy?
I hear what you're saying, the frustration that you repeated it, you want to repeat it again, but if you can just go through it again now for the benefit of the people here today and the audience that we've got.
Yes, the moon is part of astronomy. Lasers were bounced off the moon in 1962 prior to the retroreflectors.
There'll be no.
Does anyone have a theory involving astronomy?
I have a theory that the moon is 239,000 miles to 206.
That's not a theory. That's.
I have a theory that the moon is a physical.
You don't even know science.
I have
I have a theory that the sun and the moon are the same size, and the sun and the moon are both in our atmosphere, and the atmosphere goes past the moon and the sun. Our atmosphere goes past the sun.
I have a
Past the
hypothesis
sun.
that the moon is 238.
That's not a hypothesis. No, you don't know what.
Nothing goes underneath the earth. Nothing.
Yeah, that's a
don't know
good
what science is.
hypothesis. Now prove it.
It's not a hypothesis.
Well, show me something go under it.
No, you're the one that made the claim.
I just.
Well, I'm waiting
provided
for you to
my,
prove it wrong.
Why can't I provide my idea hypothesis? The moon is a physical object. Evidence
That's
of
not a hypothesis. That's also not a. The problem is you guys don't know what
Have I ever been there to
hypothesis
physically
is.
test and see if that's true? No.
That's not a hypothesis. It doesn't matter if the moon's a solid object or not. That's not a hypothesis. That's a what is question. It's not a how.
No,
why
you said you
question.
don't know how the sky works. Is it a solid? Is it a fucking liquid? Is it a gas? Is it nothing? Is it just
What are you bouncing about the ionosphere? What is the ionosphere? What is
In
that?
1962, they tested that hypothesis and bounced optical radiation off the moon and got a response back.
What was their natural observed phenomena?
The moon being a
The moon
physical
is
object.
there. The moon is there.
Bounced.
No,
Your natural observed phenomena was the moon's.
That needed more information was we saw there's an object there. We don't know if it's just a light in the sky or whether it's a solid object.
You can't do this with 10 globe. Pick your best glober and let me go at him with this.
The hypothesis is if we bounce a laser off the moon, we can tell how far away it is.
There's too many pseudoscience retards jumping in. Pick your best guy and we can do this.
How
If
would
not,
somebody just
have fun.
something answer it, son?
Are you going to pick one globe or who's it going to be?
I'm just curious of why my hypothesis isn't a good hypothesis.
Oh, let Lael and
Is it going to
Jeremy.
be Lael?
Oh, let Lael do it, and don't interrupt them, please.
No, I want you guys to tell you flat earthers to tell me why my hypothesis is a
Go on and run it by Jeremy again.
object is not
I'm gonna right
valid
now.
hypothesis.
I'm going to tell you right now. All right, let's hear your natural. Let's hear your natural observed phenomena.
The moon.
Okay, the moon. So what's your
hypothesis?
That's your dependent variable.
Is that it's physical.
Your dependent variable is the moon. What's your independent variable in your hypothesis?
Everybody on Earth. And my hypothesis.
Your independent
is that it's
variable is
physical.
everyone on Earth.
Yeah.
Keep going.
You have to wiggle everyone, Lael. Do you have that kind of time?
Keep going.
Everyone on Earth can independently determine and see.
Okay,
that the
if a
moon
real
exists.
glober wants to go at, if there's a real glober that wants to go at,
Let Lael
let
do
me
it.
know.
Everyone on
You hear
Earth
what he just said?
physically.
Go on, walk him through it there, Jeremy, for the full thing. See what he does.
He's doing
Alright.
fine. Let Lael continue.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the moon as our dependent variable, and everyone on Earth is our independent variable.
Yes,
which is
because
the
they can
cause.
independently verify that the moon
The cause.
exists. No, I'm
Quiet.
not
The cause.
Nope.
Your independent variable is your cause of the effect. So we got the effect of the moon. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean, but
the cause.
Then we have our cause. People on Earth is causing the moon.
God created it. That's what caused it. Go ahead.
Well, how does that fit in with your IV and DV? This is still. Come on, Lael. You guys can't let Lael do this.
Stop bullying Lael, Jeremy.
Go on, Jerry. Just finish it with
it's
him.
incoherent.
Go through his manipulation.
You're incoherent.
God is the cause of the moon.
What's the cause of the moon?
God.
Okay, keep going. Keep going. He's got to go through it then, Jeremy, right?
All right, so we got the moon as our dependent variable and God is our independent variable?
No, our independent variable is everyone on Earth that can independently verify that the moon exists.
I don't think you know what an independent variable means.
Yeah, I do.
All right, so Chris, how are you going to manipulate? All right, tell us how you manipulate.
Because it goes against your narrative.
Emo, you got to stop this. This is ridiculous.
You should follow it to this full course because then he'll see what he's talking about.
Well,
I tried. We got the
debunk Lael.
We got our independent variables.
Can they verify it without Jeremy's help?
Lael, we got our independent variable.
That would make it independently variable.
Okay, we got our independent variable. Every human on Earth, and
No, without you, Jeremy, you're sunk. Your battleship is sunk.
The effect is the moon, right, Lael?
The effect? No, the moon is what we observe.
What's your dependent variable?
We observe in the sky.
So are you saying when we close our eyes, Chris?
I want to state them, not
Chris,
how you do.
Are you saying when we close our eyes, there's no moon, and when we open our eyes, there is a moon?
I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
The moon exists whether I have eyes or not, Chemo.
Yeah, but,
okay. What is the dependent variable? The moon?
Is that necessary?
Well, is the moon the dependent variable?
Necessary for science?
Yeah, you need an eye.
All right, Chris, let's start again. So you said the observed phenomenon is something that you have a question about. You're curious about what you're observing, right? So you're like, I don't know what
What is that bright thing in the sky at night?
No, what's causing it,
And is it
Chris?
physical?
We don't want to know what causes the moon. We want to know, is the moon an object?
That's not. That's
Well,
a,
the only
that's
way
a
to
what
know.
if question.
Well, hold on. The only
My
way to know
question
that would be to go there, right? You'd have to go there.
Chemo,
Chris.
it doesn't even matter. That's out of the scientific realm. That's a what is question.
I
That's
know.
not a
That's what I'm
how, why
saying to
question.
him. That's why he's not.
No, that is.
Oh.
Is the moon a
This is
physical
incoherent gibberish.
No,
What
is
is
the moon
not
a
a
physical
question.
object? Why is that incoherent? That's pretty clear.
You're not going to get a theory. Listen, we're looking for a theory here, right?
I know. Is the moon a physical
Okay.
object? The theory is either yes or no, it's not. How do you falsify that?
Well, let's say if it was a cat or a dog, is that animal a cat or a dog? What would we do? What would you do?
Well, if the moon...
Same thing.
We're not
Is that cat physical? Is that moon physical?
We're talking about the moon, Chemo.
Yes, but your question is it physical? So how are you going to determine if the cat is physical and if the moon is physical? What are you going to do about it?
You grab it.
In 1962, people tested to see if the moon was
So you're saying somebody went there and touched it, yeah?
laser,
Oh, laser.
a radiation beam at it and getting it and detecting echoes back from the moon. So therefore, I verified that it was a physical object in the sky.
So that's your theory? The moon is a physical object? Is a theory?
Yeah.
Sure.
And the confirmation
Okay,
of
what
that
was your
theory-
independent variable?
I don't know. What was it? Because it obviously tells you whether the moon's physical, so obviously it's
Moya,
science.
you're breaking up.
So what-
Your mic's
hold
breaking
on,
up,
hold on.
Moya.
Shut up.
Your mic's breaking up. We can't
I
hear
don't give
you.
a shit. Fuck you.
He's not breaking up, Jeremy. You are. Get your AirPods charged.
I can hear you fine. He was breaking up.
Well, maybe you need 2 AirPods. You're only hearing half the BC because you got 1 AirPod in.
Hello?
That's not how it works.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello.
Okay, so
No.
Yes.
the question is, if we wanted to determine whether it's real or not, and this method will do that, why do you need the independent variable?
That
the
question
independent
doesn't
variable?
fall within the scientific realm. That's why.
Why not?
That's a what is because
Do
it's
I
a what is,
know what the moon is?
It's
I'm
a
learning
what
about
is
the moon.
que-
I'm using science.
It's a what is question.
What's wrong with what is in
Why?
science?
It's not a how why
We
question.
love quantum erasing.
I never said what is the moon. I said is the moon physical. That's not a what is question.
It's not a how why question.
I proved to me scientifically that it's not a scientific
What
question.
is the moon made of? That is a what is question. But is the moon a
What's-
physical object?
What's your hypothesis, Jeremy?
What is it?
That the moon is made of cheese.
What's your hypothesis?
I don't have
It's
a
not a
hypothesis.
scientific question, you say.
This is
All
your
right, what
guys'
are your
knowledge.
variables? IBDB. Give me your IBDB.
You don't. This is not a science.
Jam and cheese.
Yeah, well,
Jam
you're not
on one
science.
side, cheese on the other side.
You're spreading pseudoscience. You're making
silly, Kimo.
pseudoscience flag claims against the Globers in here right now.
Okay, in order to have a hypothesis, you need an independent and dependent variable.
You need to
Prove it.
observe
That's
phenomena
gonna be a cause-
first, Jeremy.
Have you
Observe
verified
phenomena.
that, Jeremy? How have you proved that?
He has this phenomena to the moon, Chemo. I don't know why that
So
even
that-
would register as a dependent
you brought
variable,
up-
but
wait, you brought up
I'm willing
the
to
idea
roll
of
with it.
astronomy being a science. So
Maybe he wants to know
I
what
am
caused
sure
the
you know
moon,
we
the moon to
verified that.
move or something.
I don't know. We don't have his IV.
He brought up the
His
idea.
IV was all the people on Earth, Chemo.
Why
Prove you
does
need one.
Why does the moon move? That's what you should be asking. What's the
No,
cause?
no, we're
wanna
asking,
ask, Leo?
we're asking,
I
we're
already told
asking
you
is
what
the
my
moon
question
real? Is it a physical object? That's
That's
the question.
not a how
It
why
is a
question.
question.
That does
It
not
doesn't
fall
matter.
under the realm of science.
Is it a
You're
que- is
not
it a
going to get a
valid
science.
question?
You're
Is it a
not going to
valid
get a
question?
scientific.
Jeremy, is it valid?
It's a
It's
question,
valid
Mike.
question.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
it's
a valid
It's a
question.
valid question,
It's-
but you're not going to
Okay,
get.
so we're doing
You're
that
not going
test
to
right
get
now.
a science. Hold on. It's a valid question, but you're not going to get a scientific theory.
Who gives
from
a
that.
flying fuck? We're gonna get a
We're
measurement.
looking for a theory.
Okay, I don't give a shit. What the hell
My
is the
theory
difference?
is that
The
the moon
moon
is a
is
physical
238,000 miles away,
object
and
that
it's
floats
so.
in space.
We're looking for a theory here, Moyak.
How do you scientifically support your theory that it's not a valid question?
No, it's a valid
Sure,
question,
just
but
stop.
it's something that we will never know unless we go there.
That's your opinion, Chemo.
That's not
I
an
asked
opinion.
Jeremy for the science on this.
On what? The moon.
I'm asking you for the science. You don't have it.
You don't
You
have
got a lot
any.
of pseudoscience.
You're just throwing around pseudoscience claims. This is science. This isn't science. You have no proof, no verification, no validation, no clue.
Well, actually, we do.
We have all of that. Yeah, we have all of that.
You've got words, claims.
No, we have a method that we go by, and unless you follow it, you're just believing and have
method.
faith that the moon is what you think it is.
So what? Fuck you
They
and
don't
your
want
method.
to use the method, Chemo, because they
Prove to
don't
me
want
your method is
use
the only
because
method.
they like pseudoscience. And when you
Yes.
follow the
Prove to me
method,
your
when you follow the
method
method, you
is
can't do
the only
pseudoscience
method.
anymore.
Prove
Well,
That's why they can't.
hold on,
I'm
Jeremy.
stamped.
Jeremy, hold on. So, Curve, give me another method where you can tell us what the moon is.
I'm stamped.
Okay.
Exactly. So this is the only method you can follow. There's no other method you can
Prove
get.
that.
Well,
Prove
I've just asked you to show me the method.
Prove it.
I've just asked you to
Chemo,
show me another
what the moon
method,
is.
aside from this, to tell us what the moon is.
Chemo, what the moon is not a how wide. That doesn't fall. You won't get a
I
theory
get it,
from
but
that.
I'm asking Curve.
That-
I'm asking Curve. If we're not going to use this method, what method is he going to? He wants to know what the moon is. How's he going to find out? Let's listen. That's what we're asking him.
Verify your validation that this is the only method.
It doesn't matter, Chemo. That won't be science.
We're
That's
not
just a
saying it's
measurement.
science. We're saying that he has a question.
Jeremy.
How's he going to answer this question? What's his method?
See,
trying
you
to-
don't
they're
even
trying to tell
know.
us-
You're just
they're
left
trying to
your
tell us-
answer asking senseless questions. You don't even know
They're
how
trying
to
to tell
go
us they
out
got
there.
science, Chemo.
May I please clear
Chemo, they're
something
trying
up?
to tell us
Why
they
did
got
you-
science and they're not using a
Why are
sci-
you flat earth?
Crush them, Leo.
Said.
Jeremy is right there. You're not talking about science,
I
Curve.
didn't say what is the moon. I said, is it a physical object? There's a difference between those two.
No, but you're gatekeeping our derailing
What
because
is
we're
it?
talking about
Like,
science.
What material is it made from?
Yeah, but that's not science,
this
Chris.
This isn't.
What is it?
You're not going to
made
get a
from?
theory.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not going to get a theory from that. We're
Look-
looking for a
look,
theory from astronomy.
Jeremy, are you playing dumb? Next time we'll try to make a theory. You'll say, but we don't know what it is. So first we
By the
need
way,
to
I
know
hear a
what it
theory-
is.
I want to hear a theory from astronomy. All
Yeah,
the way up
after
to
we
phenomena,
establish what it is.
hypothesis.
It's part of astronomy, isn't it? The moon is part of astronomy, Jeremy, right?
Just give us a
Cause and
theory,
effect
Chris.
relationship that we're looking for.
Yeah, the
Leo.
cause is God, because he created it. The effect is that we all see it on Earth.
How are you going to manipulate God?
What?
How
Why do I
are you
have
going
to-
to
Leo, this
manipulate?
is just silly, Leo.
Prayer, don't you
Stop.
know
Why
what-
are you guys letting him do this? Why are you guys letting Leo do this? It's embarrassing for you. I feel embarrassed for you.
Why you're the only one that can play dumb?
I feel embarrassed for you guys right now. Come on.
You're an
Don't
embarrassment.
let him do this. No, I feel embarrassed
By
for
the
you
way,
guys.
just a few hours ago, Chemo admitted that we went to the moon, and now he's changing that, and I posted that in the chat in 29. Chemo's saying we went to the moon.
Okay.
Whether Jose believes that or not is beside the point.
Well, we didn't actually go to the moon.
Well, Chemo says we did, so.
Well, I hope he has some evidence to back that claim up.
Chemo does not
I
believe.
don't really care if he does or not, but he claims we did, so.
Chemo, do you think we went to the moon?
We didn't. So, did we or didn't we, Chemo?
No, that was an exercise. No, we didn't go to the moon. That was an exercise, Chris, to show you Globers how to step up your game. Okay, because the globe is failing, the moonlands are failing, and what I did for you in those short minutes was conduct an exercise and say, look, we did go to the moon. We can't say we didn't go just because we didn't see it. We can't prove Concord. But obviously, that's not how we'd prove it anyway. But that was just a small exercise of how you would conversate on when you're trying to show something to be true.
All right, there's something you've been saying, Jeremy. You've been saying that the moon is, we don't know what it is, we just lights in the sky. Well, we've just proven that it's not just a light in the sky. So I don't
have a scientific...
I don't give a flying fuck about science. Shut the fuck up.
I know about science, Jeremy.
The statement is, can we tell something about the sky? Yes, we can.
No,
we
I
can
want to
tell
hear
that the moon
that wasn't
is
the
a
question.
physical object approximately
That wasn't the
238,000 miles away.
That wasn't the question. The
Well,
question
that's
was,
the
do you have a
answer I
theory?
just
The
gave you.
question
What do you
was,
think
can
about
I
that
finish
answer?
the sentence?
No.
The question was, do you have a theory from astronomy that we could
I
go
don't give a
over?
shit. What about the moon?
Then
Is
if
the
you
moon
don't
real?
give a shit,
Is the
fall
moon
back
real?
and let us talk
Is the moon
about
real?
it.
Is the moon real?
If you don't care,
Is
let
the
us
moon real?
Astronomy is
if
an
you don't care,
observational
fall back
science,
and let
you
us talk
dipshit.
about it like reasonable humans.
Is the
Stop
moon
being
real?
being a maniac.
You're arguing that the moon is not real. What is the moon real or is it not real?
No, I'm arguing you guys don't have a theory in astronomy.
That's great. Is the moon real?
Mike, I think Blue. Mike, I think Blue wants to answer Jeremy.
I'm asking him a question. I'd like him to answer.
Yeah, but Jeremy asked a question.
Don't care.
I think Blue or Beeble for Life wants to answer him.
We'll go with them in a second. Is the moon real?
No, I'm asking a question. That's all. A theory in astronomy for what?
There you go.
We want a theory. You guys say this shit is science. You got theories and shit, or no?
For what? What are you talking about?
Astronomy.
For the moon?
A theory in astronomy. Anything in space.
About what?
Anything. Pick
Yeah,
it.
the Big Bang.
Pick.
How about that?
Dealer's choice.
Big Bang. The Big Bang.
Dealer's
Jeremy,
choice.
end of story. Here's the theory.
Mikey, please don't do that.
Yeah, he asked for a theory. I don't know what lane is
Yeah, but you
on
can
it.
hear Beeble for
But I'm
Life talk.
answering.
Chikey, you can hear
No,
Beeble.
he wasn't talking. Beeble wasn't talking.
He wasn't.
Can't hear anyone.
Jeremy, I just posted in chat. I just posted in chat a number of hypotheses within astronomy. Would you like to
Okay,
go
let's
over
go.
them?
What's the one? Yeah, what's the natural? Give me the natural observer. I can't. You know what? If mad people are gonna jump in, then we can't. If just me and you could do
Why
it.
is the moon not part of
If
astronomy?
just me and you could do it, then we can. I mean, if these guys don't want to hear
Please
it, then
tell me
whatever.
why
We'll
the
just do it at a
moon is
later
not
date.
part of astronomy.
Well, it's kind
Jeremy,
of funny,
what's the
Jeremy,
point
because
of-
it's kind of
Jeremy,
like
what's the point of
talking
asking
in
questions? Jeremy, what's the point of
or
asking?
SE or Rakia or Jeremy, you yourself lately. It's much like that. How do you like it?
All right.
What's up?
All right, Jeremy, go back to bio if
Jeremy,
you want, and Beeble.
What's the point of asking questions if you're
I
going to
can't
deny
because
me?
they keep jumping in, chemo. So we'll just have to do it some other
No,
time.
no. Leia is muted for a minute or two.
What's the point of talking to you, Jeremy, when you can't hear half of fucking BC?
I hear everyone.
There's no point talking to Jeremy either because you're going to tell him something 7 times and the next day he's going to pretend like you never even talked to him.
No, there's every
You want to
point
go
in
over one of these
talking.
theories real quick or no? You want to go over one of these theories real quick or no?
No,
My
just satisfying
theory
your
is you have the
question.
mental capacity
Can the
to
rest
go
of the
over it.
Globers control themselves, or are they going to spaz out like retards?
Do you have the mental capacity even to talk about a scientific theory?
So jump in like retards. Okay. Maybe another time, BioDuel.
Okay, go away.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty put off the fact that we had a long conversation yesterday and you retained none of it and pretend like it never happened. So I don't know if I want to continue talking with you.
All right. Well, let me know if you do.
Yeah, that's kind of how the flat Earth is. It's like a Groundhog Day every day.
A bit of a knob move, Jeremy.
Well, he's saying he don't want to talk to me because I don't retain information. What can I do? Also, we can't get the rest of the Globers to stop jumping in like maniacs. So what am I supposed to do, Curve? What am I supposed to do?
Quit forgetting everything that's convenient for you.
I didn't forget everything. Kosho said it once, and I didn't hear it.
Jeremy, you've been here day after day after day. I'm pretty sure you've heard things about the moon before and everything else people have told you.
I've never heard a valid hypothesis from astronomy.
I'm pretty sure you have, but you probably just denied it.
Well, BioDuel says he got one. If you retards can shut up for 5 minutes, we could go over it.
For the 8th time, and with more and different people listening now, I will give it to you for the 8th time.
Okay, let's go. Natural. Hold on. Natural observed phenomena. Go.
So if we're going to talk about astronomy and you want some type of hypothesis, the easiest one that I can think of is given enough time, the stars in the sky will move from their apparent locations over time.
That tells us nothing.
No, I don't care
Time-
what it
time
tells
causes
us.
things to
I'm
move.
giving you a hypothesis within astronomy. So
Time
as time goes
causes
on,
things to move.
as time goes
causes
on,
things to move. That's profound. I'm
Did
gonna
I-
call
I
my
didn't
wife
say that.
real
Jeremy,
quick.
can you be
I didn't
quiet
say
and
that,
let him-
Jeremy.
Can you be quiet and let him in? Let him finish.
Shut up, B-ball. Go back to Jose's show with the rest of the retard globals.
and again, I never said that time causes it. You require time to pass, and you need a large amount of time to measure these differences.
Okay, so we don't have time causing. What's your natural observed phenomenon? Stars move in the sky.
That's fine if you want to keep it basic like that.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but go
No,
ahead.
that's fine. That's adequate. It's very basic, but that's fine. That works.
Okay, our natural observed phenomenon, stars move in the sky. Now we're looking for the cause of that.
Oh, that's a totally separate question from what my hypothesis is.
Well, we're looking for a theory in the end. So give me something that ends with a theory.
Right. No, that's the theory that given enough time, stars in the sky will move from their apparent location. That's the theory.
That's your theory, is that stars move with time, over time?
Yes.
That's fucking retard. That's retarded.
Why? Can you specify why?
Because without time, nothing happens. So
It
yeah,
doesn't matter.
time causes things to happen. Yeah, big whoop. We know that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your concession that time causes things to happen. Moving on.
Does it make stars move, Jeremy? Does time make stars move?
Time doesn't make stars move. No, time doesn't
But
make any.
But over time, they do move.
Time
That was
doesn't
it.
make anything happen. Things happen in time. Time's never the cause of things. We went over this one day for like 3 hours. Time
So
never
they move.
causes anything. Time never causes anything. We all know this.
Yes, but you asked me for hypothesis within astronomy, and that's what I gave you. And if you wanted to bring up the cause and effect,
Does this end in a theory?
that is a totally separate question. For
Okay,
cause and effect.
can you give me a theory? Why don't we start with theory first? How
I don't
about
know.
that?
Are you moving the goalposts now that you
No, I'm not
learned?
moving a goalpost. I've been wanting a theory since the start of this. Do you have a theory from astronomy?
He just gave you one.
What's the theory?
I'm waiting for the specific reason why you think that that's bullshit.
What's your theory in the end of all this?
Man, I'm not going to give it a 9th time.
You didn't hear it.
So you don't have a theory then?
Not going to give it a 9th time, Jamie.
Do you have a theory in the end of all this, or is that your theory that
Obviously, he doesn't know what a theory is.
time
That's why
causes stars to move?
Obviously, he doesn't understand English.
he doesn't
No,
understand what a theory is.
Can I ask Jeremy a question?
No.
What kind of
fuck off.
science is astronomy, Jeremy? Don't tell me to fuck off. Just answer the question. What kind of science is astronomy?
Pseudoscience.
No, it's called observational science. It's like epidemiology, sociology, economics, things like that are called observational sciences. Do you know what that means, Jeremy?
It means it's pseudoscience because you're not going to follow the scientific method.
No,
Yes.
it means it means it's a field of science where controlled observations can't be done in order to study causes and effects. That's what observational science is. You pick astronomy for this discussion. Why don't you pick some other field of science, Jeremy? Thank you.
So, Blue, you concede that you couldn't do an experiment and follow the scientific method with astronomy?
Not QE's method.
No, it's not QE's method. It's the scientific method. Hypothesis, experiment.
Stop that bullshit.
There is no such thing as the scientific method, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
Not when you've introduced pseudoscience. Not when you've introduced pseudoscience. Now you got everyone all gassed up off this pseudoscience bullshit. I know.
That's where you're wrong.
Jeremy, we obviously can't go to outer space and move fucking stars around or change the orbit of planets. It's pretty clear that we can't do that, isn't it? Even you should be able to understand that.
Yeah. That's why you'll never get a real. That's why you'll never get a real. That's why you'll never get a real theory in astronomy. That's why you'll never get a real theory in astronomy.
No, that's not right.
An experiment does not require direct manipulation of an independent variable.
Yes, it is.
No,
it absolutely is.
No, if
it doesn't.
If the manipulation happens naturally, that's fine.
When you're doing pseudoscience, it's not. I agree. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Jeremy, is the geocentric theory a scientific theory?
Is the what?
Geocentric theory a scientific theory?
Where Earth's in the center? I don't know. Why don't you give me the natural observed phenomena with it?
I should have to answer that.
We'll run through it real quick. What's your natural observed phenomena?
I'm asking you if it's a scientific theory.
If you give me the natural observed phenomena and the hypothesis with the variables, and we can go over it.
The solar system is geocentric, Jeremy.
No, curved. It's not.
Jeremy, do you believe that the sun, moon, stars revolve around the Earth, planets?
Do you have a theory in astronomy or no?
Jeremy, do you believe that these things revolve around, orbit around the Earth? Move around in the sky, whatever, with the Earth being
above. Yeah, things move in the sky, sure.
With the Earth at the center.
Don't know.
No, I wouldn't claim the center of anything. No.
Where is the Earth relative to these things?
On the bottom.
And what evidence do you have for that?
That Earth's on the bottom.
What's your theory then?
I don't have a theory. I was looking for a theory from you guys.
So you have no clue then? You're going to abandon
I don't have any scientific theories about shit that you can't do scientific experiments on. No. That'd be absurd.
What's your scientific evidence the Earth is flat?
I don't have any. It's not a scientific. It's not a scientific endeavor. That question. It's a what is question. When you're doing a theory, you're dealing with how, why question.
Love to know the difference.
You're looking for the cause of an effect.
Like the sun.
Not what is the distance to the moon or what is the shape of it.
What causes the sun? Why does the sun disappear like that? Do an experiment and find out.
That'd be a good one. You got a natural observed phenomena. What's causing the sunset?
Right. Don't just presuppose curvature where you haven't tested or measured curvature.
You're a fucking dimwit.
Yeah,
anyway.
You don't like it, do you? That's
But
science.
Jeremy, what is it you wish to
you would just test both models and see which one matches what we see in reality.
You guys are out here
making test the globe model.
Listen, you guys are out here making science fiction predictions.
Jeremy, what's your goal? What's your goal? To eliminate all things as being that nothing can be scientifically known? Is that your ultimate goal?
No, we know a lot of things scientifically.
Tell me something.
Water boils. Cause.
Definition. No. That's a definition. That is not a science experiment.
Water boiling?
Yeah, boiling point of water is a definition.
At what temperature does water boil?
At what pressure?
Depends on what your control pressure.
Yeah, what
elevation?
Depends on your control.
At sea level.
100.
What's your observed phenomena?
A little over 100. There's been some.
What if I can falsify that in the microwave?
Hey, Jeremy, if I place a pan of water on something that's 400 degrees, will it boil in 1 second?
Wow.
Oh, God.
Wow.
No, you said boiling is a scientific endeavor, so I'm asking you, can you boil water at 400 degrees in 1 second? Go. At sea level.
No, Leo.
Then time is an independent variable then? Because how
you
long?
put 400 degrees under some water and you want it to boil in a second? I mean,
He's already conceded that time can be an independent variable, Lil.
Yeah, but if that's all you have, if all you have is time as your independent variable, you literally have nothing.
All we have is time.
Garbage. That's all you got. That's all you can
one said that's all we
manipulate.
have. Jeremy, I just want to confirm though. You have made the progress that you do concede that time can be an independent variable, right?
Is there anything else you can manipulate besides time?
Jeremy, I just want to get that confirmation. That's it.
Is there anything else you
That's
can
all I
manipulate?
want, Jeremy. I'm asking you a question.
Is there anything you can? I asked mine first. Is there anything you can manipulate besides time?
Yes. Now I'm going to ask my question, Jeremy.
Let's hear it. What is it?
Now I'm going to ask my question, Jeremy.
No, hold on.
I answered your question. We're going to go one for one. We're going to go one for one, Jeremy. Yell more.
Okay, go ahead.
Yell more.
Go ahead.
I just want the confirmation. Time can be an independent variable. Do you agree?
Yep. Yeah. Now, what else can you?
Thank
What
you.
else can you? What else can you manipulate besides time?
What regard? What are you talking about?
Run away, bitch.
No, it's not running away because we told you this.
Run away, bitch.
Before we can change our location on Earth. That's another way that we can manipulate the way that we observe astronomy. For example, if I'm in the northern hemisphere, I'll be able to see Polaris, and if I change my location on Earth to Australia, I won't be able to see it, but I can see the Southern Cross. That's one way to manipulate a variable to give you a different result in the sky.
Your location on Earth.
You could change and also you could change your elevation.
I got a question about that. Okay, you've got this. He keeps on going to scientific theory. He does have, a word game that I'm not understanding how to answer. If you do, I have a hypothesis that Polaris will dip below the horizon if the Earth is a sphere. Now I go down below the horizon, it disappears. Now I'm not going to get a theory out of that, am I? I'm just going to get an answer.
It's pseudoscience. Of course, you're not going to get a theory.
Shut up, Keith. Shut up. I'm not asking you because you're a fucking retard. So what is that answer? It's not a theory then at that point. It's a what?
Perhaps it would help if he explained what he thinks a theory is.
Well, I mean,
it's an explanation of an effect that's now been proven by experimental evidence.
That's better. So it not proven, but has yet to be disproved.
We prove things in science, dipshit.
You don't prove things in science.
We do prove things in science. Not your pseudoscience. We don't prove things. Real science. We prove things.
Can you give me an example of some real science that has proved something?
Okay, we proved that the lack of vitamin C will cause. No, you know what? Let's go with water. We proved that water boils at a little over 100 degrees, whatever the thing is, at 14.7 psi.
No, we defined it as that. We did not find that it proved. We did not find that it boiled.
We've proven it experimentally. You can go do an experiment right now.
And we can falsify it.
Go do an experiment in your kitchen, bitch.
We can falsify it, Jeremy, in your microwave.
How does that falsify it?
You can heat up water in your microwave undisturbed to above 100 degrees Celsius. It will become superheated or can become superheated without boiling. Be careful opening that oven and reaching for the cup. It could explode the water.
So you can't boil water in a microwave? Are you saying you can't boil water in a microwave?
I'm telling you this can happen because it can go above that temperature and not boil yet.
No,
Jeremy,
you cannot boil water in a microwave.
Jeremy, I'd like to ask a specific question about your theory. Are you saying that we have to have a temperature change to boil water? We need heat. Is that what you're saying?
You absolutely must have heat to boil water. Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask another question. If we keep the ambient temperature the same, and we only change the pressure, do you think that we could boil water?
Of course, yeah.
So where's the heat being added when we do that?
Well, did you get rid of the heat?
I just said keep the ambient temperature the same.
So the heat's there. So the heat's there.
No,
so the heat's
you
there.
keep the ambient temperature around the same. You don't.
So there's no heat.
Yeah.
Did you get rid of the heat, or is there heat?
He didn't say get rid of it.
Room temperature, Jeremy. Room temperature, and we only change pressure. Can we boil water?
Okay, so we have room temperature. There's heat in room temperature, right?
Yeah, but Jeremy, what do you do at absolute zero? We always have heat, Jeremy. We always have heat.
Jeremy, at room
I don't know what
temperature,
he's trying to say.
room temperature, let's say 65 degrees Fahrenheit.
We got the heat. We got the heat.
We have 65-degree air, and then we only manipulate the pressure.
Okay, so we got the heat, and then we changed the. We got the heat, and then we changed the.
Jeremy, you agreed that you needed to.
Oh my God!
But you agreed you needed to add heat to make it boil.
Jeremy. Ambient
room temperature is heat. You dipshit.
Can you boil something at ambient
you had to add heat.
room temperature?
There's heat in an ice cube. Why isn't the ice cube boiling, Jeremy?
You have to change the pressure. I don't know about ice cube. I'm talking about water.
Ice is water.
Liquid water.
There is heat in the ice cube. Why is it not boiling?
Well, you'd have to turn it into liquid first, and then we're talking about liquid water, right? Or are we talking about ice?
The point here is that although all these examples are things that you might claim science has proven, whether it's reducing pressure or superheating water or so on, there's almost certainty that those things are all true. But even then, we can't be absolutely certain that we're not living in some kind of simulation, and there's actually no such thing as water. You can't be absolutely certain that you're not a brain in a vat. And the point is,
we all heard this nonsense
science
before.
does not
Just
absolutely.
stop your nonsense.
Will you stop talking over me? Science does not absolutely prove anything. What science does is will you stop talking over me? Science establishes a greater degree of confidence that something is true. Many things we can be nearly 100% confident are true. 99.9 recurring % confident it's true, but that does not mean it has been proved absolutely. There may be a special set of circumstances in the universe where water doesn't boil, where it sublimates rather than from solid to gas. We don't.
Bro, are you going to monologue forever, or is this going to end?
No, I'm going to make a point, and then I'm going to be quiet. I finished, okay?
Yeah, if you listen to him, you might learn.
We've all heard this bullshit about brains in a vat on a shelf somewhere, right? It's nonsense.
That wasn't the overarching conversation.
Why don't he went on?
If you actually listened, you would have known.
If he didn't fucking monologue for 5 minutes, I would have known what his point was.
Why didn't you?
Can you give me a concise, coherent point?
Jeremy, he didn't speak for anything like 5 minutes. He probably didn't even speak for 1 minute.
Can you remake your point and be concise?
You just don't want to know.
If you quit interrupting him, he'll make his point.
Yeah, if you weren't trying to interrupt the whole time, you might hear.
Right.
The point is, science establishes a greater confidence that something is true. So by making hypotheses, by attempting to disprove those hypotheses, the ones that are disproven, we can reject. The ones that are not disproven, we become more and more confident that they are true. That is how science works. I know because I spent 35 years working as a scientist.
This is where you interrupt, Jeremy.
Chances are
do you want me to respond to that? Was I supposed to respond to that?
What I would like to know is, what do you think about the scientist's description of science? What do you think about that?
He's wrong.
Have you
a 35-year professional is wrong.
Have you never seen all the quotes that Jeremy put together of various great scientific minds talking about science?
Jeremy, you mean Jim, right?
Yeah, Jim Panda. Jim Panda Jeremy, sorry. We've got like 3 Jeremys in here, which makes it super confusing.
Why would you listen to a scientist over the Army dinner ladies cherry pick nonsense?
And the funniest thing is, you ask these flat earthers if they've ever learned anything about reality without using quantum eraser scientific method, and they'll all say yes.
I'm just astonished. I'm astonished, Jeremy.
What reality are you talking about? What reality are you talking about? You conceptual fake to scientific reality or the physical natural reality?
Is it true to say that science only deals with how questions and how why questions? Or does it also
when you're looking at when you're trying to get a theory, yes.
But the science.
When you're trying to get a theory, yes. You can do whatever other bullshit you want and look at something and be like, oh, it's blue. You're not gonna have a theory on if it's blue or not just from looking at it. That's not even a question that would fall under the category of a theory.
I can't see the transition here. Okay, I wanted to know if the moon was real or tangible. So I bounced.
What is question?
So I bounce a radar off of it. It comes back. Now I've determined that radar bounces off of tangible objects. So does that first off prove that the moon is real?
It doesn't prove it. It gives you more confidence that it is.
Yes. So do you think we have sufficient evidence, Jeremy, to say that the moon is a physical object approximately 200,000 miles away?
I think before we determine how far it is, determining if it's a physical object or not is more important.
Mine covered both of those. It's a physical object approximately 200,000 miles away.
The side effect of finding out that it's a physical object is that we can also determine distance to it.
Yeah, an experiment can prove two things, or a test, a measurement. Oh, Jeremy's going.
Yay!
I'm kind of mad because you guys moved away from my point. I wanted him to tell me if the moon is an astronomical object or part of astronomy.
Lil, you know exactly what he would say. Same thing he always says, which is, I don't pretend to know how the sky works. And he would say that over and over again, and you guys would be back and forth on that point forever.
Yeah, he'll make claims. Yeah, he doesn't know anything.
I think we tested if it's if we learned something about it. Like I said, we can learn that it's real and tangible. That was number one. It's not just a light in the sky. So we got to move on in little baby steps with that. But he also doesn't think that comes up. He's asking specifically for whether it yields a theory again, the theory of the moon.
He's just pointing out the flaws in your science.
No.
Well, he's
frustrated. He's getting very
science is more than just theories.
He's getting very frustrated. Seeing the change, right? But no,
yes,
we did see the change. He does concede that time can be an independent variable. We do see the changes in the positive direction. You're right.
Yeah, again, that's not science.
By your claim,
it's 5 steps backwards, 1 step forward.
By your claim, you can claim whatever you'd like. Your claim is wrong, so you can be wrong if you'd like. That's fine.
Well, again, if it disagrees with hypothesis, wrong, right?
No, there is no. Well, my hypothesis is that you don't understand science, and every day you reinforce that claim is true.
No, but I'm just saying that you're.
I often use time as an independent variable in experiments. I used a lot of other things as well, but time was certainly one.
Well, what did we observe to see that time was the cause?
That's not what we're saying. We're not saying that it's the cause. We're saying that it's an independent variable in a number of experiments. You can have multiple. You can have multiple at the same time. You can have individual independent variables, and you can manipulate different ones in different experiments. Time can be an IV.
Give an example.
How long does it take a grass seed to grow to maturity?
What did you observe?
The grass growing.
A grass growing, yes.
Okay, so what?
Why do you have to ask those simple questions, Kimo, when you already know the answer? If he's talking about a grass seed, what do you expect it to be that he's observing?
Well, I want to know. That's what I'm asking. What did he?
He's trying to keep the conversation from progressing.
Yeah, let's go through it.
So, what did you observe? You observed
grass growing.
Okay, so what do you predict caused the grass to grow?
The seed.
It doesn't matter. My question is, how long does it take to grow to maturity?
Not interested. I'm only interested in the effects and the cause. You said.
But I am interested. I am interested.
Well,
How would I evaluate
that's
that?
a different field then. That's not science.
No,
it is.
What is it then, Timo? If it's not science, what is it?
It's something, I don't know, you can call it whatever you like. It's not, there's no method you can get knowledge from this.
Well, you get the knowledge of how long it takes that particular species of grass to grow from a seed to presumably to flowering and producing more seeds. So,
okay,
what area of human knowledge would you put that in if it's not science?
Have information. It's like when you read the
Again,
newspaper. Like when you read the newspaper, you don't really have knowledge. You just have information. It could be false. It could be true. It's just information on paper.
You establish that it's true by making that observation. You've made that observation. Time was the only variable there.
Did you test every single grass blade to see that they grew
I
at
wouldn't
that
have
same
used the
rate?
grass seed. What I'd talk about is maybe reaction rates, chemical reaction rates.
But is that the same with every single seed?
Hang on a minute. Let me finish. I can simply use a single concentration and measure the and temperature and measure the reaction rate over time. I can also vary concentrations and so on and see the difference that makes. I can vary the temperature and see the difference that makes. All of those things lead me to have more information about the rate of that reaction and how it proceeds.
I'm not arguing that. Like I said, you can read the newspaper and find out what the score is. It doesn't mean it's science, right?
It's a false equivocation what you're doing, Chemo. What you're essentially saying is that the information that we would get from that hypothesis with the grass, you're saying that that's worthless information, and that's your opinion, but that has nothing to do whether it's science or not. It's still science, even if you deem the information to be worthless.
If I predict a team, if I were to predict a team that wins a sports game, and then I get it correct, and then I have, I can say I predict that because the grass or the weather was the cause of this team winning. Is that science?
False equivocation
again. You said that we test every grass seed. No, but if we did find some grass seeds that didn't germinate, we could actually start looking further into that and find out that they weren't fertilized, and we can go from there. So we can keep on adding to our information.
Yeah, that would be.
You could build off that one observation. You could build an array of experiments to determine the effects of different variables.
And
again,
you just called their repeatable thing, their observation of a repeatable thing and a repeatable man. You said it wasn't science, man.
Yeah, there's no science. There's no observed phenomenon here. So again,
we just had the grass growing.
The grass went from nothing to mature, whatever, dude.
And again, this is part of science because we can do a number of experiments. And the origination of this discussion is you're asking for an experiment with time as an independent variable. This is one of them. Time can be an independent variable. You can also have fertilizer as an independent variable. You can also have water, sunlight. You can have a number of variables, and you can see what happens when you manipulate each one. It's a science experiment.
Wait, so are you saying you can have multiple independent variables for one observation or science experiment?
You can have multiple, and you can have multiple isolated IVs in multiple experiments, and you can compare and contrast the differences.
I don't have a problem with that, by the way. I was just making a point to Chemo. In one scientific experiment, you can have multiple independent variables, and you can manipulate those independent variables.
Yeah, again, what you're describing is how you feel you should conduct gathering information. Now, of course, again, this would not fall under the scientific method. This would not fall under science because...
Specify why it isn't. Specify why it doesn't fall under your definition of scientific method. Specify.
So, like I say, what you guys are saying is how you feel about the matter and not being able
please specify what's wrong with it. Don't monologue and don't try to obfuscate. Don't try to change the subject. You said that what we're talking about doesn't fall under the scientific method and it's not science. Specify and articulate what you mean by that.
So, like I said, the very nature of what you guys are saying is how you feel about how you should gather information. Now, of course, everyone would be different. Everyone would have a different method, and they would say, well, I feel that this grass is growing this way because of that. I feel. So the majority of results would be varying.
You're articulating your specific issue, Chemo. Articulate your specific issue. If you gave me something and I said, nope, that's wrong, this is why, that specific thing doesn't make sense due to this. That's what I would say. Not monologue about nothing. Specify why what we talked about is not science and part of the scientific method.
Basically, what he's doing here is he wants us to verify by science each of those independent variables, which is impossible.
He's wanting to negate the experiment altogether.
Well, first off, science is not the scientific method. Science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing systematic study and structure and behavior of the physical world, natural world. So that has nothing to do with experiment. That is just, we're looking at it, trying to learn about the world. Scientific experiments come in there at points, and they're not as rigid as he would think. But science includes just looking at it and thinking about it, playing with it.
Chemo's backed into a corner, and I don't want him to get away without answering the question to his claim. So what is the specific reasoning as to why what we talked about with the plant, fertilizer, light, time, all these things, why is that not part of science and the scientific method?
I mean, what's interesting is listening to you guys give different views on how you would go about gathering this information, and that's the very point of this. This is the very reason why we have a method that's very strict, so that everyone sticks to that particular method, and then we're not using our feelings on what we think should happen.
Can you specify what's wrong with what we explained when it pertains to the scientific method? Can you articulate your issue? And if not, I appreciate your concession in being backed in the wall and knowing what we're saying is correct.
Finished?
Waiting for you to answer the question that's been directed to you 4 times now.
Like I said, so science is not about feelings, right? There is a method.
I appreciate your concession.
Thank you. Feelings here. Nobody else mentioned feelings. They mentioned doing experiments where you vary a number of different independent variables to gain as much information as you can about a particular phenomenon. The one that was example that was used was a grass seed growing. Okay, you're the one who's bringing up feelings, not anybody else.
Well, the reason why I say that is because if you were to do this grass experiment and somebody else were to do this experiment, we'd have different results because of the way you're conducting different methods. It's not the same method.
No, we wouldn't have different results if we did the same experiments.
But you wouldn't do the same experiment. You have different methods.
If we did publish our results and they were different, and we published our methods, then each of us would repeat the other's experiment to see if we got the same results that they did. That's how science works.
Yeah, but you're going to do different methods based on how you feel it should be conducted, right?
No feelings.
Oh my goodness! How did the method change? You're invoking something that I don't think anyone said. You're saying that we're using different methods. What were the different methods, in your opinion?
I'm saying
we can repeat the magic, Chemo.
You're saying that this method that we use is not the method. You use a different method. But you all don't use the same method.
Your method you talk about with one dependent variable, one independent variable, and so on. This is part of what scientists do. But it is only a part of what scientists do.
Okay.
Everything yields a theory.
But you still won't be able to know things unless you've manipulated the independent variable, right?
Well, we just gave 5 independent variables within the grass growing experiment, and we said that we can manipulate these variables all at the same time, but we can also manipulate each one by one and have a number of experiments where you isolate the independent variable and manipulate it, and you can see due to each manipulation what type of changes you would have with the growing grass, the rates or the quality, whatever your experiment is. We just listed out every part of it, the whole methodology. Can you specify what's wrong with the methodology we gave you?
Because my predicted cause to the grass would be life. So if I can...
Would be what?
Life. Whatever keeps the grass alive. So if I can end the life of that grass, will it still grow? No, it won't.
No, you're saying your independent variable is life? How do you manipulate life?
Yeah, whatever keeps that grass alive. Yes?
No, you said your independent variable is life. That's what you just said. You literally said that verbatim. So what I'm asking you is, how do you manipulate life in your experiment?
What, with the grass?
Yeah, that's your independent variable. How are you manipulating it?
Well, I got
Yeah,
various ways.
He could plug it and throw it in the garbage, I guess.
Yeah, I can stop its life by suffocating it. I can.
And then what would that
drown
that
it?
would have that
Any particular knowledge or understanding of how grass grows from killing it.
Yeah, because I'm saying you're saying that I'm predicting the cause that it will grow. This rock won't grow because it has no life. This grass will grow because it has life. So how can I be
That's
sure?
one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard come out of your mouth.
How can I be sure that this grass has life and it's the cause is by stopping the life from the grass and see if it continues to grow?
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say, Chemo, and I'm serious. And it's not even a put down. It's just a fact that of everything that I've ever heard you say, that might be the dumbest.
Be prepared to lower the bar.
I would be able to.
It's almost every day.
I can manipulate my variant and predict the cause, whereas you cannot predict a single cause to why grass grows.
We just talked about fertilizer, light, time. We can manipulate all of these variables and get different results. You're just saying life as if that means something.
Yeah. What keeps the grass alive? The life.
No, that's an experiment now, isn't it? Because our experiment was talking about the grass growing. Your experiment is talking about what keeps it alive.
Yeah,
that's
I
totally
observe
life.
grass growing. What's causing
Life
that?
is an easy way of keeping your food fresh. To who?
So I
delighted,
predict
Nate,
that
and
the
then don't
cause
give
of
any
the
water at all
of the
and see what
grass
happens to it.
growing is life. That's
Why
what
are you testing something different?
Well, all I have to do is give grass light and it'll grow.
All I have to do is manipulate the life of the flower of the grass and see if it continues to grow. If it stops growing, then I can say the cause of it is life.
The question was how to make it, or how fast do they grow. The question wasn't whether they were alive.
How to do what? Sorry.
How long it takes them to grow. It wasn't whether they were alive. It's
How long it takes them to
and what
grow?
conditions they grow in.
How fast does Usain Bolt run? Just time it, measure it. Just a measurement.
But there's all sorts of
How big
conditions
are
you
your
can vary.
shoes? How big is your hat? Measure it.
How fast can Usain Bolt run at the top of the mountain versus
Just
at the
measure
mountain?
it, right? You just measure it. How
What
big
is
is your
that?
house? Measure it. It's not science. You make it builders just building, measuring, not doing any science, is it? You're scientists now. Builders. Wow.
Science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study and structured behavior of the physical and natural world.
Yeah,
Is
physical
that
and
not
natural
included
world.
in there?
Physical natural
Measuring
world.
is not included in there?
What?
Is measuring included in there?
I can't hear your mic's cutting up.
Is measuring included in that definition?
No, because measurement is just what you think it could be. A meter to you. I could change that into a kilometer.
I spent a large part of my career measuring various things. The measurement is nearly always part of the experiment. When I perform an ELISA, I measure the amount of light that goes through the well in the plate at the end of it. That's a measurement, but it's part of the experiment. It's always part of the experiment, or nearly always.
It's a systematic study, structure and behavior of the physical world. Measurement is included in that.
Well, again, this wouldn't be called science. This would be pseudoscience, right?
That's I just put the definition of science out there for you, Kimo. Why don't you read it this time?
Look at the definition of pseudoscience. That's what you should look up. And that's why Jeremy's getting very frustrated. Jeremy's getting very frustrated because you guys are not talking about science.
No, he's getting frustrated with himself.
Well, neither is he.
He is. He's not.
He's not.
We're talking about your own method.
Talking about your one and only method.
That will give you the knowledge.
Systematic study.
It's your
What is
method.
it?
It's your only method.
If you want to call it my method, I like that. Yeah, I have a method that you will follow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't have
It's a
the
broken
information.
method.
Prove it.
It's a broken limiting
you're
method.
saying-
We
Demonstrate
will
it.
follow.
How? How is it broken, was?
Broken.
I heard that.
What do you do with all the other observations that we see there, Spears? What do you do with all of those?
What other observations?
Not real.
Are they a phenomenon?
All the other observations that we see. What do you do with them?
What? Looking at what? Your house?
Anything.
What do you do with them? Just look at them.
That's it.
That's
Can't tell anything
I
from
learned
looking.
so much about the world.
Just look at it was.
You have a broken method, Spurs.
Well, this method has been very successful.
This method, no one will pay for this method, Chemo. It's useless.
It's limiting.
You can't name 10 things that science has, by your definition, has accomplished.
You don't need to.
Well, and it hasn't accomplished anything. Science has been used for nothing, according to you.
Well, we know why things fall. We know why the sun sets. We know why objects set over the horizon due to science.
Chemo doesn't know any of those things, but science does.
Can you explain the sunset thing?
Yeah, sure. So it's due to atmospheric lensing. Gives the illusion.
What science did you do? What was your independent variable? What was your dependent variable? Your hypothesis?
It doesn't comport to your method, does it, Spurs?
Why'd you say that?
Well, how does it? Have
say
you
it
manipulated the sun?
Why'd you say it doesn't?
Have you manipulated the sun?
That's not the
Stop avoiding the question, Kimo. Answer the question. What was your dependent variable? What was your independent variable? What hypothesis did you start with? And how did you establish the truth of your conclusion?
Why
are you guys
would we manipulate the sun?
Well, apply your inadequate scientific method to the setting sun and tell us what's going on there.
But you said I didn't manipulate the sun. Why would I?
It's your method.
To manipulate the sun.
Manipulate.
Well,
I don't think he has to manipulate the sun. I want to know what he did manipulate. What is the scientific
from? And
well, if he hasn't manipulated, if he doesn't have to manipulate the sun, he'll say, "No, I haven't manipulated it."
Why
I
would
want
I
him to explain
manipulate
Then we can go from there.
what the experiment actually was that established that, for example, it was atmospheric lensing that causes the sun to set.
Can we just get Woz to finish off what he was saying of why he thinks the sun should be manipulated?
No,
I don't think the sun is Spurs. I don't think the sun has to be manipulated. I'm asking you if you manipulated it.
No, you said your method is broken because you didn't manipulate the sun. Go back and play it.
Right. So if you don't need to manipulate the sun, tell me what you did.
Did you manipulate your independent variable?
Okay, so we see a sun go.
Tell me what you did to establish what you're saying scientifically.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out why you said I should manipulate the sun.
I just told you, mate. If I'm wrong, tell me what you did.
You didn't say that. You said your method is broken. You didn't manipulate the sun, and I'm like, well, why?
Yes, yes. I'm qualifying that by saying if I'm wrong, tell me what you did.
Okay, so we wouldn't manipulate the sun, we're going to manipulate the cause.
Well, carry on. Stop being fucking tedious, mate. Just carry on.
Okay. So that is our dependent variable, is the sun was. That doesn't change. It stays the same. Okay? Our independent variable.
What stays the same? The sun?
Yeah, the sun would always continue to move over that horizon, yeah? That will never change. That will always move. We will always see it move away from it. We can depend on that for sure.
Yes? Wait a minute. Nothing's ever going to change the dependent variable. Are you sure about that, Chemo?
Yeah, I'm saying we want to use the independent variable to show the cause of the effect. Yeah.
Yeah, and the effect must change. Your dependent variable must change.
If the dependent variable is not going to change, you have no experiment.
No, but
the sun would be the control, Chemo, not the dependent variable. Just because you say it's dependable doesn't make it dependent variable.
Yes,
you see the distinction, right?
He's going to go through it because he's digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper. Let him go through and try and explain an experiment that shows atmospheric lensing causes sunsets.
Okay, so what we're going to change is the independent variable, yes, which is the atmosphere, the lensing effect. Okay, and no, I've got it the wrong way around. The other way around. Sorry.
You can switch the atmosphere, huh?
No, not switch the atmosphere.
I'm loving this.
Yeah. The other way around. Sorry. Yes, the other way around.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hear this, like for you.
Yeah. So our dependent is the atmosphere. and we're going to manipulate the sun here, and show it go over. I've got the experiment here in the video in the chat for you. So what we do is we predict...
So you say you're gonna manipulate the sun. So then was correct. You are about to manipulate the sun. Can't wait to see this.
We're not going to manipulate the sun. I said we have an effect, which is the sun going over a so-called horizon. So we want the cause to that, which is atmospheric lensing. Now,
so how did you manipulate the atmosphere?
Well, we're not going to manipulate the atmosphere. We're going to manipulate.
But that's your independent variable. You have to manipulate your independent variable. That's your method.
This is your method. That's right.
Yes, the lensing is the cause. This is why it appears.
If you're watching, you just found out that you can't prove that sunset happens by lensing.
Yes, I was just about to.
Not science.
He is not finished. Let him continue failing.
You'll keep interrupting me. Yes. So we've got an effect, which is the sun disappearing. What causes that? That would be the atmospheric lensing. What we need to do is take the lensing, manipulate that lensing, so we can have the sun move away, and remove the lensing, and you'll get a different effect. Add the lensing, you get a different effect. So that's how we know.
Is this repeatable?
So how did you do that? How did you change the amount of lensing due to the atmosphere? How did you establish that the atmosphere actually causes lensing in the first place?
That was the predicted cause. So we don't know that until we... We don't know that until
you're wanting that to be your independent variable. I think you've got a problem here.
No, because we don't know that. That's the hypothesis until we test it, right?
Right. So you seem to be getting your independent variable, your dependent variable, and your hypothesis all muddled up. Can we start? What is your hypothesis, Chemo?
Okay, so the hypothesis. Well, first of all, we need an observed phenomenon, yeah? Which is the sun going over an apparent horizon. Now, we can predict its curvature, or we can predict...
Hang on. So you've got that observed phenomenon. Now, what is your hypothesis?
So I predict the cause is atmospheric lensing.
No, I didn't ask you to predict the cause. I asked you to give your hypothesis.
That is your hypothesis, your predicted cause to the effect. Do you not know this?
What is it?
I just told you, atmospheric lensing.
What is atmospheric lensing? How did you establish that atmospheric lensing occurs?
Because we see magnification in the atmosphere.
You presupposed it, maybe?
You're presupposing it, yeah. You haven't demonstrated it.
That's my predicted cause. That's my hypothesis.
Your hypothesis is that there's something called atmospheric lensing, which you haven't yet explained what that is. You're claiming that's a cause, yet you don't know whether it exists at all.
Yeah, the atmosphere acts like a lens. We know this. Like I say,
how do you know that, Chemo? What experiment was that? You were just showing this experiment to show what atmospheric lensing was. How are you both using it before? How are you using it before you ever understood what it was?
That wasn't through experiments. That was through observation.
What experiments?
No, knowing that the atmosphere acts like a lens. That's not through observations. That's not through experiments. Sorry, that's through observations. When you look
right, so you didn't use the scientific method that you claim is the only way that you can gain valuable scientific information to establish that that atmospheric lensing occurs. So you've already failed. You're doing something that you say is pseudoscience, not science, when you're claiming atmospheric lensing.
Yeah, because discovering that the atmosphere acts like a lens is not science. Just what we see.
And yet you want to use it in your scientific method, your experiment. Now, we still haven't got to your experiment and how you're going to manipulate the atmosphere.
If I observe
there is lensing or not.
If I observe the sun, that's still not science. I just see the sun, right? So if I see atmospheric lensing, magnification, that's not science. That's just an observation. So we can include that.
It doesn't seem like that even happens.
So because
you're saying you're going to manipulate it. How can you manipulate it if you don't know what it is?
Well, we do know what I've just explained.
Brings us back to the start, Spurs. What do you do with the observation?
Okay, do you want to start again? I'm confused.
I'm confused. The sun is, you're saying it's magnified, and I'm not seeing that. The sun seems to be the same size. That's one of the problems.
What I'm confused is about the lensing manipulation.
Yeah, so again, we see the sun.
He's using something non-scientific to try to prove something scientific by not manipulating anything.
Oh, I get it. No.
Okay, so let's try again. So we have the sun setting.
Of course, that's after he had it backwards on which one he was going to try to manipulate.
Don't need to try again, mate.
Chemo, you need the nurse to give you a new IV.
Okay, so let's start again. Let's try again. So we have the sun.
Don't have to, Spurs. We've gone around in a circle. We're back at the beginning. We don't have to start again.
Yeah. We can't prove that the sun sets.
Okay, so we have the sun where...
What do you do with the observations that we have?
We have the sun where it appears to be setting. Now it looks like it's going over curvature, but obviously we know we can't measure curvature, so it's something else. So we can predict...
You seem to be getting off track, Chemo. You're not following your particular scientific methods to explain your experiment that establishes atmospheric lensing is what causes it.
Oh, is that what you're supposed to be talking about?
Yeah, so let's try again. So we have the sun, and it sets over the apparent horizon. Now, we need to predict what's causing this phenomenon. Why does it appear to be setting in the way that it does? So we can predict several things, but we've got to test those. So we're going to go with one independent variable, which is atmosphere acting like a lens. So what we do is we take a lens and we set up the experiment where we show the lens.
You don't accept that because you're not measuring.
Let him finish.
Yeah, so we set up the experiment where we take the lens, we conduct the same observation what we see in nature where the sun appears to stay the same size. So can we replicate that where it appears to go over on a flat table? Can we make the sun disappear bottom first on a flat surface? That's the key. Yeah.
Well, you've got a problem here because you're now saying what you actually seem to be talking about is modeling this. So not using the sun at all, but using some artificial model and a man-made constructed lens.
Yeah, that's correct.
This will tell you nothing about what happens with the sun and the atmosphere. It can only tell you what happens when you have a piece of cardboard or something representing the sun and a lens. So you're not testing your hypothesis. You're testing a completely different hypothesis.
No. What we're doing is that we have an observation in nature, and we'll find out what causes that observation. Because it looks. Some people think
you're trying to model some. Right now, you're trying to model how it works. You're not actually looking for a cause right there.
Well, that is the cause. Without the lensing, get the
What was the cause?
Without the lensing,
would be an assertion. That would be an assertion without evidence, Chemo.
Oh, we've replicated it here. I posted a video for you. It's in the chat there. So we can replicate what we see in nature through the hypothesis, predicted cause.
Prove that the atmosphere is breathing?
Yeah, Black Swan shows the lensing effect.
You would have to validate that the atmosphere is in the orientation that it gives the same effect as that lens, if that were the case.
No, we don't have to do any of that. We just have to.
Yeah, you would actually, because you're just making an assertion without comparing it to reality at that point. What you've done with science, you've modeled something to make it true. You modeled something in such a way to where it will give you the same result without testing it against what is real.
That's the point of the predicted cause to the effect, is that what we're trying to do is replicate what we see in nature. So as long as we have the cause to the effect, we're happy. So we know that the Earth is flat and the sun doesn't disappear over curvature. We know it moves away, and we know that it doesn't do what you say it does.
Move away.
The reason why we know that is because we have an experiment.
Chemo, you're supposed to follow the scientific method to know things. This is what you keep saying.
Yeah,
Yes,
but you're not doing
You can't just say, I know this, I know this, I know this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to actually explain the experiments and the data that you've collected from those experiments and how they support the hypothesis
Sure.
that the Earth is flat and that the atmosphere causes the sun to appear to disappear over a horizon.
Yeah, I mean, all we're looking for is what's causing this. Is it because of the curvature, or is it something else?
You're not looking for what causes it. You're making the assertion that you know what causes it.
No, I'm hypothesizing what
Testing
causes
anything
it.
at all.
Well, first of all, I have to predict what's causing it, right? And I predict that the atmosphere acting like a lens is what's causing it. See? And then I'm going to test that and find out is...
You're just testing that a lens can bend light. You haven't validated that against reality.
He says he's gonna test it. He's never finished explaining this. He's never tested it. He's never finished explaining the IV and DV and what he did.
Yeah, I did. I said what you take is a flat surface.
Spiraling, Chemo, you're spiraling.
Well, it may seem
No,
like
there comes a point when you
faith.
have to admit that you just don't know what you're talking about. There comes a point when you have to admit that what you've been claiming just isn't true and that you're just making bullshit up. I think you've reached that point.
No, again, all we have is an observed phenomenon, and we want to know what causes that. Now, you say it's curvature, and we found out it's not because of the Earth curve, because there is no Earth curve.
We want to know what you say and how you found out. Explain your experiment.
So, you have a hypothesis, you take a guess of a variable you think is causing this effect. So,
IVDB, come on, get to the point.
So once you have a hypothesis, if it agrees with experiment, then it's right. If it disagrees with
What experiment? We don't need a ramble.
Then it's wrong.
What IV, what DB? Start there.
Like I said, our independent variable here is what we're manipulating. Okay?
Which is what?
Which is the cause, which is the atmospheric lensing. If you remove the atmospheric lensing, the sun will get smaller and not disappear over the horizon.
Have this atmospheric lensing ever been removed?
What is your dependent variable, Kima?
Independent variable is what causes the effect.
Dependent variable, Kimo.
What is the effect?
Don't go getting deaf on me now.
What is the effect?
Dependent variable.
So in this particular experiment, Kimo, what were your causes?
The effect.
The variable here.
The effect curved.
Chemo, you have not yet explained any experiment. How about you show us the experiment that invalidates the spherical...
He can't even finish this.
Let him get away. Let Kurt press it. I'm sorry, Kurt.
You can't write a paper in code, Chemo. Now, come on. Explain it. Finish it up. What's the DB? Expressly. Damn,
The effect. Things that move, the effect.
Things that move away from you disappear.
Move away from me, David, please. You.
Disappear with distance. That would be what it is.
Okay, so
I just told you the
we've got
effect.
plenty to refute that nonsense, but that's not what Chemo's saying. Chemo.
The effect. What is the
DB.
effect?
Spell it out.
David just told you the effect.
Spell it out, Chemo. Why are you being such a dependent variable?
Yeah, let me give you a visual curved. Check out this video.
Okay, please give me
I can't see the
variable in the experiment.
I want you to prove my evidence curved.
Chemo, you need to list your IV and DB. So
No,
far,
you need
you're
to
babbling
prove my claim curved. That's
atmospheric
what you need to do.
lensing for IV.
You need
What
to
is your
prove my
DB?
claim. Back
Chemo,
up my claim.
answer the question.
No,
You've
back
got
up my
to
claim.
explain
That is
it,
my answer.
or you
Answer
haven't
is-
explained your experiment.
You're gonna run away, Chemo,
You've
really?
got to spell it out.
No,
Chemo.
of course not, Jose. But Curved is going to back up my claim. He's going to watch that video.
No, but you're running away because you're
going
avoiding
to
to
say
answer his
what your
question.
dependent variable is very clearly.
That's in the video. Go and prove my claim, Curved.
I'm not watching your video. You're
Then
in
you'll
here
never know, then will
explaining.
you? How will you get information? Go and watch it.
All right, I'll tell you one thing.
So
I
we're
see
gonna.
in your video.
Yeah, is there an
Go ahead.
independent IV and DV listed on the video? Is there
Yeah,
an
it's
IV
all
and
in there.
DV?
It's all in there,
Just
Jose.
let him get away.
It's all in there,
Help
Jose.
him squirm.
It's all in there. It's all in there.
I see in your video that they don't show the horizon. So with that lens, they tilted it up in such a way as that you can't see the horizon. It's very interesting. But that aside, what's your IP and DV?
Well, again, our independent variable is the atmospheric lensing. That's what we're manipulating. We remove the lensing.
How did you manipulate the lensing of the atmosphere?
By removing it, get a different effect.
How did you remove it?
Explain how you did.
It's in the video how you remove the lens.
So in nature, you can do this in nature, or just in a toy small scale.
No, Jose, you can't remove the atmosphere in nature. You've got to do it in the laboratory, in the science.
You can't do it, Chemo, is what you're saying. You have no experiment.
Yeah, we've got. I've just posted. Did you not see the video? Shall I post it again? Did you not watch it?
Further, to do that, you would be saying that the orientation of the atmosphere is such that it would give you the same sort of effect. Do you know what orientation of the atmosphere that would be? Can you model that?
No, I don't observe that now.
You observe it, but you don't observe it?
No, I only observed the sun disappearing over what looks like an apparent horizon. Now, is it curvature? No, because of black swan, so it's something else, so we can predict that it's the lensing. We can test that. If it agrees with the hypothesis, then we're correct.
You're spiraling.
So at best, you've gotten to the point now where we have a possible model. And now I guess where we go from here is we'd say, can the atmosphere act like a lens? Before we could go further. I mean, so it doesn't sound like you've proven jack shit.
We don't need to calculate anything. All we need to do is figure out what caused this.
You got to prove that the atmosphere could do that.
Well, we see it every day. The sun disappears. Disappears bottom first.
We haven't proven the link between the atmosphere doing it and the observation.
Well, we've proven.
You're presupposing that there's a lens in there.
What we have,
but you have never been able to manipulate it or remove it. So how do you know there's a lens in there?
Because we know it's not because of curvature, and it's something else.
How did you know that?
Because water cannot conform around the exterior of an object without force.
Okay, so
there you go. That's the obfuscation. He will never go back to IV and DV on the sun. His sun experiment.
Sounds like you can't prove anything with the method. It's just like nothing in science ever has been proven.
All we're proving is the cause to the effect. What's the big deal? We see an effect. What caused it? Was it the curve? Or was it something else?
Well, I don't think it's that. I think that there's just a magical change to the light where the bottom of the sun turns off when it gets near the horizon.
What do you think causes the sun to do what it does, Mike?
What was your null hypothesis, Kim?
So the was curvature, yeah.
How did you test that curvature is not the cause?
Because there's no force of gravity. You need gravity to be a force. There's no gravity as a force.
Didn't say anything about gravity.
Yeah, so curvature was tested to see if that was the possible cause, but it came up zero.
How is curvature related to gravity? I don't understand that.
Because water conforming around the exterior of an object requires a force.
Yeah, we lost him.
There we go. You see, Blue? That's what science does, and we can rule out all religious ideas and get the actual knowledge. Now we know what causes the sun to do what it does.
How? You haven't done jack shit.
We hypothesized, we experimented, and it agreed with hypothesis.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, if you take a lens and you remove the lens, add the lens, you'll get different effects, and the effects will be the same as what we see in nature.
But you haven't eliminated the other possibility. You've just gone, nuh-uh.
What other possibility?
What, that the Earth's curved?
What
and
curvature?
rotating.
Have you measured the curvature?
It's been
You
measured.
don't need to measure the curvature. What you need to do is to take the hypothesis that the Earth is a spherical planet and it's rotating on its axis, and you make predictions on that basis of what the sun would actually appear to do in the sky. And does that actually match what we observe? And it does. If you give a single example of something we observe in reality to do with the sun, which is not what would be predicted by a spherical Earth that is rotating on its axis, then that would be fantastic, because that would disprove the spherical Earth theory. Oh, so have you got an example?
You have been stopping in the gates, Chemo, in your flip the burden of proof attempt, but you tried a for effort.
These things that you just described are not observed.
We're not going to focus on ours. We're going to focus on yours. You still have not yet completed your claims.
Yeah, I provided the video. Here's the video. I'll give the link of the experiment.
No, the video doesn't tell us what we need to know, Chemo. Keep going. Let's keep talking with this.
So
you
now
still need to.
You can
still need to go back to what you said was curved.
Okay.
So, what expressly is your IV and DV in this scenario?
The IV is the atmosphere acting like a lens, the lens. Okay. DV is the effect, the sun doing what it does, moving away and disappearing, allegedly.
Presuming the movement of the sun.
Yeah, so that's the hypothesis. Yeah, is that the sun disappears. Why? Because of curvature. Again, that was tested, ruled out.
No, it hasn't been tested. It hasn't been ruled out. Please don't make
That's a problem. You
Well,
got no
again,
null.
who's measured the curvature?
How many surveyors?
Burden of proof. Yeah, burden of proof.
Mr. Probande is here, man. Keep it on yours.
Exactly. So I haven't measured curvature, so I can rule it out. There's no curvature. I see flat, observe flat. We need. So I'm ruling out curvature because there's no curvature. So I see magnification, black swan. We can go out. When I was at B's, I saw magnification, atmospheric lensing. So that is my predicted cause of the effects that we're seeing.
What is the orientation? What is the extent that it works? Give us something here. Don't just say it is atmospheric lensing.
Bon Jovi, your mic is flashing. I don't know about any of that stuff. I don't observe that. What I observe is the sun disappearing over the apparent horizon. And not getting smaller and smaller, so we're told. Now, what's causing this? Why is this happening? Yes? Now, again,
Here's the presupposition you're going to throw there.
I presuppose, I predict, yeah, this is all in my hypothesis. I presuppose, I predict that the atmosphere acting like a lens is causing
What sort of lens? And how does it do it?
any lens you like. Any lens.
That's not how this is going to go. You're positing a very specific lens.
No, any lens. You can use a magnifying glass, you can use a Fresnel lens, you can use glasses, any telescope, any lens you want. Any lens. The same
Lenses
effect.
make things smaller, Chemo. You do understand that, don't you?
Sorry?
Some lenses make things smaller. You do understand that, don't you? So as the sun goes away from us, it should appear smaller. If the atmosphere is a kind of lens that makes it even smaller, the
concave lens,
a little dot. So you need to have the right kind of lens in your atmosphere, and you can't even demonstrate the atmosphere acts as a lens at all.
Convex lens, concave lens, what type of lens? Double, triple?
Well, the lenses we know that cause this effect are magnifying glasses and Fresnel lenses.
What part of the magnifying glass?
Sorry?
Which part of the magnifying glass?
Glasses that magnify.
You know, I've done this experiment on a tabletop using a Fresnel lens and other magnifying lenses. It doesn't cause the sun or the model of the sun to disappear below any.
So not the sun then.
Really? Give us a look at your experiment, like I posted my one here. Give us a look.
You gotta be an expert on frauds. Yeah, some frauds are able to do it. Dirt is a fraud, so he's able to find the right angle to make it look like that.
He did his experiment on his kitchen table without the sun and modeled
What was
how
the
the sun
what was the observed phenomena in his kitchen table? Was it the kitchen or the cardboard?
Responding to Chemo's claim, in Chemo's model, it's not. It's not.
You sound smart. You sound smart. Your voice sounds smart.
Observed phenomena my kitchen countertop.
Looks like Chemo's the model was on a kitchen countertop too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what you got to do is take a flat surface, because the Earth is flat, obviously, and you try to replicate what we see in reality, yes, to the best we can. Now, obviously, that's down to your predicted cause, and obviously we know it's because of the lensing effect. It's going to give us the same effect we see in nature. That's the beauty of
the number one problem that I see your observation.
My only point was, don't criticize Miles for doing it on a kitchen tabletop and then show us a damn video where you're doing it on a kitchen tabletop.
Yeah, on a contraption in the countertop, a contraption built by him.
It's a bit disingenuous.
The number one issue that I see with your experiment, your observation, and everything is that you don't have a horizon below the sun, showing the sun going behind that horizon due to the magnifying glass. What I would predict is that if you were to have a horizon, let's say 6 inches from your glass, and you have the sun like you do moving away, what you'll see is that sun will approach that horizon, but never dip below it. That would be my prediction.
You would never be able to test that, ever.
I just explained how you could.
You could never test that, ever.
I just explained how you could.
Yeah, but you could never prove that.
No man can recreate God's creation. No man will ever be able to do that.
Apparently.
No, what Bio's talking about, I'm saying he will never be able to test what he's talking about, ever. And prove what he's saying and back up his claim, ever.
No, I just said. So you have the magnifying glass the same way that in your video.
I heard you, yeah. You had a hypothesis that you'll never ever have an experiment for, like I have here.
Then you have a horizon to represent the horizon of the Earth, and then you have the sun on that same piece of paper moving away on a flat surface.
Nice hypothesis, yeah, nice, cool. Have you done it? Where's your experiment to back up your hypothesis?
What I'm saying is you don't have a horizon in it. That's part of your hypothesis, is that the sun will dip below the horizon, but you don't represent the horizon in that observation at all.
No, because what we're replicating is what the sun does, yeah?
In relation to what?
The sun stays the same size when you look at it. Appears that way, yeah?
What?
Pardon?
Your hypothesis and what you brought the video forward for is your hypothesis that the atmospheric lensing is causing the sun to dip below the horizon. But in your video, you have nothing depicting the horizon. Your experiment is flawed.
No, it explains how the sun does what it does.
In relation to what?
What we see.
In relation to the horizon.
No, to what we observe. We see the sun.
You don't depict the horizon in that.
You don't see a physical horizon. It's an apparent horizon. It's not really there. It's an illusion.
The light that you see on the horizon bounced off a physical object. Don't pretend like there's nothing involved in physics with light. Please.
There is no physical horizon. You do understand that, yes? It's not real.
Of course there's a physical horizon.
It is there. Of course
prove that then, Beach. Prove that the horizon stays in one place.
It's obvious. Just look.
Exactly. Not all the hypothesis, but no experiments, guys. That's why we're able to move forward.
You don't stay in one place either, and yet you're real. So you don't have to stay in one place to be real.
You're conflating the terms here. We're talking about
physical
Earth, right?
Things don't have to be in the same place to be real. They can move around.
Yeah, we understand your argument. Very good point. It's just not analogous to what we're talking about here, right?
Well, we'll make an argument for that.
Well, you're all making an argument.
We're talking about here is about claim that he can do experiments about solar sources. That's what we're talking about here, Rakia. Now Kimo is attempting to flip the burden and the globe post, right? The ball post. And you are biting into it, and you're helping him now to escape from what he is like in a corner and he's against the wall. He doesn't know where to run. Here comes the white knight. Go ahead.
Pretty big
I don't
corner,
think I'm
guys.
white knighted, and I think Chemo's doing fine. I think you said my name again first.
I think Rakia is too dumb to know that Chemo's cornered.
Well, it's a pretty big corner.
Here we
He's
go
pretty
again.
dumb.
Same old crap. I'm dumb. We know it's boring.
Well, you are.
Yes, I know.
Well, I don't think you've been.
Okay, let's prove that he's dumb now.
We're getting away from the topic.
Get the IV and
Let's go back to
DV
your
and
corner there,
PV and
Chemo.
MSV of me being dumb. Y'all are boring about that. Can we move on from that?
Yeah,
Go
you're
back to how the
stating,
sun
Rakia.
is a
We
beautiful
got
object
Chemo is in a corner,
created.
Rakia. Shut up. Shut up, Chemo is in a corner, and we want to finish it.
Why do you hate
think
flat
Chemo's
Earth?
in the corner.
Why do you hate flat Earth?
No, we can
You're
move on
even-
to
you're even
Rakia
more stupid fucking
and
question.
Bon Jovi. It's not just about me, guys.
Look at that. He must realize he has a place.
Yeah, we all know it's not about him. It's not about him, guys. Let's go on.
Chemo, just say I
Chemo's
failed,
explaining
and we can move
God's
on.
greatest
Chemo, say you
creation,
failed.
a wonderful creation that we all observe, and the atheists in the room are denying every aspect of
Maybe
it. That's all.
we'll hear Chemo as they're making a concession, saying he failed, and we can.
We don't have an experiment. We have a model, maybe.
Yeah, models are actually reification fallacies.
Well, no, he's
Modeling
giving
is
us a
exempt from reification.
Timo gave us a model. He didn't give us an experiment.
Oh, okay. Why are you an audit? Why are you automatically an atheist if you deny science?
Oh, Miss is a dirty troll. Don't listen.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like Chemo is looking for his bailout. He's letting other people speak now.
Yeah.
He does that all the time.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not about me.
I'm not Bailey now. Like I said, these things are very simple to understand, but we have other guys here who want to get involved.
You haven't got a quantum eraser blessed experiment, and you have one. You don't have it for anything.
I don't see what's difficult about this situation here. We have an observed phenomenon. We want to know what's the cause. We're able to replicate the cause.
Best, Chemo, what you've done is you've come up with an alternative that doesn't have any bearing in reality to what we actually see. You refuse to model it, you refuse to quantify it, you refuse to see if there's anything in nature that can make the same effect. You don't want to path out the rays of light that would be necessary to do this. You just want to say, "Oh, I have this, therefore it must be that." Can't look at anything else because I'm just not going to look.
No, there would be two other alternatives. So the sun would be miles away, like you told us, 93 million miles away, and the Earth would be curving. But again, we've been out there, tested the globe, and we find that there is no curvature anywhere. Simply nowhere the Earth is curving. So,
and the atmosphere is not set up in a way that would give you this bending of light. So at best, it's a wash, Chemo. So what is the correct way to go about this?
Well, have you tested your hypothesis?
The density of the atmosphere is well understood, Chemo. You're not gonna rub this off on me. You're gonna have to sit here and validate that the atmosphere is in the orientation needed to get your experiment that you're doing with that lens. Please verify that.
You're making wild claims about the atmosphere that you know what it is.
No, you were the one who's made the claim that it does this lensing effect, and you're comparing it to this lens. Explain to us how it does this lensing effect. Give us the mechanism by which it happens.
How what works? A lens?
The atmosphere behaves as this lens. Give us the orientation, give us the ray tracing, give us what we need to understand what you're saying. Validate it, Chemo.
Well, that's not my department here. See, I just do science. You see? And what I do
You're
is
not doing
I find out the
You were
cause.
pretending to adhere to the scientific method.
Well, it's just like when there's an investigation, you have different departments. Now, we just find out what caused it. Yeah, we're not the coroner, we're not the judge. Yes, we just find out what is the cause, and that other people will make an investigation, and that's what your job is.
Chemo, you know how,
We
because
define
it's a change of
him as
temperature.
guilty.
Listen to me. It's because of the change of temperature with altitude, lenses. Thank you.
Well, that's when you want to start getting to the calculations, David, the numbers, temperature. Yeah, so that could be. But we're looking at the cause of the sun. Why does it do what it does? Can we replicate it in a laboratory?
Provided a possible alternative, and you're refusing to test it.
No, the other alternative is the Earth is curving. And
Chemo, I'm not asking you to investigate my Earth curve. I'm asking you to validate your claim. Please provide your validation of the claim.
I've posted it how many times?
No, you haven't.
It's not validation of your claim, Chemo.
I should
Now,
post it again.
to validate your claim as it comes to this experiment into reality, you would have to provide a working model for how the atmosphere is oriented to make this happen.
That's not science.
Absolutely science. You can't just say, that would be like saying if I can make any effect mimic another effect, I can say that I found the true effect. That's not how that works.
Can you do that though?
Oh
No, you
God.
can't.
So,
You're not
and
able
what-
to do that. You're not able to show that Cavendish works in a vacuum. So when we see things fall,
That has nothing to do with what I just told you.
When you say mass attracts mass,
It'd be like if I set up an
you can't
experiment-
replicate
if-
that
if
in the
I set up an
laboratory.
experiment saying that,
Therefore, it disagrees with experiment. Whereas my hypothesis agrees with experiment. So I can't see where you're coming from.
Your experiment cannot differ as if your experiment doesn't compare against reality. You've created an alternative and you're refusing to investigate or validate it against what is known. You have just you've done an experiment and you've committed, is this a type 1 or a type 2 error? I don't even know.
Okay, so let me explain. It's similar to your gravity idea. So you think when the apple fell, mass attracted mass. So you went into the laboratory with Cavendish and tried to replicate this. But what you didn't do was put it in a vacuum chamber. So therefore,
Kimo, I'm not talking about anything that I'm doing. I'm trying to get you to validate what you have done. Please validate that the atmosphere acts in this way. Show us the orientation the atmosphere needs to be in for this to occur. Don't just say I have a lens, therefore atmosphere's lens.
Yeah,
that's not how this is going to work.
That's science. Yes, we predict the cause to the effect. That's it.
You haven't shown that the atmosphere is set up that way.
It's like
You've
when,
made a postulation that it's that way, but you're not validating that.
It's like when Anthony manipulated the salt to cause the direction of the egg to change. So he now knows that the density is the cause here. That's it. He doesn't need to know the numbers behind it. You guys can figure that out. All we do as scientists is figure out the phenomenon,
fucking
cause,
scientists.
and effect. Now, if anyone else
Don't
wants
you
to
dare
add
call
to that,
yourself a fucking scientist.
like the colours, time, height, width, be my guest. That's up to you. We don't get bogged down in all that nonsense. We just look for the phenomena in nature that we can hypothesize the predicted cause and come up with an experiment so we can test whether it's correct or not.
So where's the experiment?
Pressure is an independent variable. You remember that too, don't you, Kimo? Parts per million meters don't mean density.
Yeah, so I've posted it many times. The lens effect is the cause of what the sun does. You remove the lens.
I'm sorry, Kimo, but that one experiment is A, flawed, B, doesn't demonstrate what you're claiming because it has nothing to do with atmosphere. I've done the same sort of thing and shown, because Rob Skiba published this sort of thing before, and I've shown that Rob Skiba was somewhat dishonest in the way that he did it, and it's very simple to set the experiment up to get his result and then to set it up and get another result.
Okay.
Which I consider to be more close to what we would actually be observing in reality if we were on a flat surface. The point is, your experiment that you've put in the chat here does not do any of the things that you've claimed. It has nothing to do with the atmosphere. It doesn't involve the sun. So you haven't established a thing.
No, again, what we're doing is replicating what we see in nature. This is very key you understand this. So when we see ships disappear, when we see objects like...
I'm going to stop you again. Okay?
Okay.
You have to demonstrate that there is a lens effect of the atmosphere and that the lens you're using in your model matches the amount of magnification that is caused by the atmosphere.
Again,
and you can't even demonstrate the first part, that the atmosphere causes that kind of lensing, that kind of magnification. The magnification the atmosphere has to cause for the flat Earth model to work is that it has to make the sun's diameter in our observation, its angular size, remain exactly constant, even though it's moving away. That's a very precise amount of magnification, which must be consistent all the time in the atmosphere. Whenever the atmosphere is clear enough for us to see a sunset, that it always has to give exactly that same amount of magnification. So you ought to be able to demonstrate that, measure that. Have you, for example, taken a building that you know the size of, move a distance away from it, and show the amount by which the atmosphere is magnifying it above the size you would expect due to simple perspective?
Okay. So all of your number system, trigonometry, geometry,
answer the flipping question.
Well, the point is that none of these things can apply to the natural and physical world. So when you're trying to apply angles and lines and things like this to the real world, you're not going to be able to get any results whatsoever. The only way you're going to get results is by conducting an experiment that you're able to manipulate the.
Just propose an experiment. You take a building, you know the size of that building,
Not
you
an
know
experiment, it's not science.
you can measure it. You move a distance away from it and measure the angular size and demonstrate that the atmosphere has in fact magnified that above what you would expect the size to be, the angular size to be, according to there being no magnification by the atmosphere. Have you done that?
No, that would not be done. Is what I'm trying to explain to you. I'm not interested in the angles and the calculations.
It's nothing to do with angles. We're talking about the size. You're talking about the angular size of the sun.
Again, size. We're not interested in numbers. Keep that for later. We're not bothered about size, width, depth, length, color, time. None of that stuff. We're not interested in. Okay, we are very specific. We are very specific. Is that we have a cause. Single cause to this effect.
I could say that the cause is that there are fairies out near the sun, and they unfurl a blackout blanket in front of the sun in such a way that it appears to disappear from the bottom up. I've got a perfectly good cause in my hypothesis there for the observation that is made. My next job is to demonstrate that that actually happens. Now, my cause, my fairies unfurling this blanket, is every bit as good as your atmospheric lensing. So how do we distinguish which one is true? And then how do we distinguish that the curved Earth, spherical Earth hypothesis is not true?
So you're saying fairies is a possible cause. Okay. Can you manipulate?
I'm not saying that. No.
What are you saying then? Why'd you bring up fairies?
I'm saying that is as good an explanation as the one you are offering.
But if it's as good, how do we manipulate the fairies?
Justification. I have provided just as much justification for that hypothesis as you have provided for your atmospheric lensing hypothesis.
But where are the fairies that you can manipulate?
Where is the atmospheric lensing that you are claiming?
I'm manipulating.
Oh, he got you. Checkmate.
I'm manipulating the lens, showing the cause.
No, you're using a lens and you're saying this is like the atmosphere, but you have to demonstrate that it actually is like the atmosphere. I am saying it's not a lens at all. It's fairies unrolling a blanket.
Well, then demonstrate that with fairies.
That's my point. You need to demonstrate that it's the atmosphere that's causing this lensing, and you then have to demonstrate that that lensing causes the effect that you're claiming, and it doesn't.
That's what we've been done. That's the experiment.
No, your experiment does not demonstrate that, because I have repeated that experiment and shown that it does not achieve.
Let's have a look at it.
If you set it up the same way.
Let's have a look at it then. Let's see. Let's have a look at your experiment then.
No, stop trying to avoid the point. The point is that you have not demonstrated the atmosphere does the lensing. We can then worry about whether lensing would cause the effect afterwards. First, you have to demonstrate the atmosphere causes the lensing.
The atmosphere causes the lensing? That's the hypothesis. That's what we're going to test.
And you have to demonstrate that that is in fact the case.
Well, that's what I'm going to test, aren't I?
You have to demonstrate that lensing occurs in the atmosphere. The atmosphere actually magnifies things. You have to demonstrate that, not say a lens magnifies things. We know a lens magnifies things. What we want to know, or it can if it's the right kind of lens, what we want to know is that the atmosphere does that. And you have provided zero evidence the atmosphere does that.
That is the hypothesis, that the atmosphere acts like a lens. You understand?
Right, and the purpose of the experiment is to test that hypothesis. Your experiment that you have published does not test that hypothesis. Your experiment tests the hypothesis that using lenses and setting cameras in certain positions and tilting lenses in certain ways, you can get some sort of effect that might be similar. What you have not done is demonstrate the atmosphere actually acts as a lens. And I have suggested an experiment to you that would establish that. You take a building, you know the size of the building, you place a camera some distance away from that building, you measure the angular size of the building, and you determine whether that building has in fact been magnified because it appears to have a larger angular size than it would do without any magnification.
Okay, so again, that is part of the hypothesis, yes? I predict lensing will give the same effect as what we see in nature. That's what I predict. So now I need to test if that will actually happen. Before I even touch a lens, that's my prediction. I could be wrong, and we won't get the same effect. But if we get the same effect, then it agrees with my hypothesis. You understand?
Good. And I agree with that. There are issues over the experiment, but we will come to them maybe another time. Now, you then have to demonstrate that the atmosphere actually acts as a lens, because if you don't demonstrate the atmosphere acts as a lens, all you have come up with is a possible explanation which has no more validity than an explanation that says fairies unroll a blanket every evening and make the sun disappear.
Well, that's it. If you could show another variable that could cause this, well then yeah, my hypothesis would be questionable.
Very simple. It doesn't have to be fairies. I can take a blanket, I can take a light source like a light bulb, I can unfurl a blanket and make the light source disappear from the bottom up. It works. It works just as well as your lensing example.
Can you make the light stay the same size?
Absolutely. The light won't change size at all because the light isn't moving.
Well, go on then, give us a look then. Let's have a look. You talk a lot, but you've got no
honestly
experiments.
Do you honestly not think that you could hold up something and make a light bulb be blocked from your view?
Look, it's your claim. Just back it up with what you're saying.
No.
No?
Is there a light in your room?
So you want me to prove your claim now?
I'm asking you to do the simplest thing. Is
Yeah,
there a light?
You want me to prove your claim?
Anyone should prove it to yourself, Kimo, especially if you have it available with you.
Why should I prove your claim?
Okay, this is this is the most sort of dishonest piece of rhetoric I've come across from you. I honestly didn't think you were this bad.
Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. Trust me. If this is your worst, oh my god, you have no fucking idea. Stick around a little bit longer, and you will find that the true nature of those people are something else other than you have ever seen in your entire life.
But that's why we don't make claims like that. Because if you make claims like what you're saying, then we're going to be asked to back that up with an experiment. That's why when I make the claim about the atmosphere, I have an experiment to back it up.
Actually tell you that that's the orientation of the atmosphere and that it will give you the effect in the same sort of lensing, Kimo.
Again, that's calculating something. We're not doing that.
It's not even a matter of calculating. It's a matter of understanding the composition of the atmosphere.
Again,
it's a matter of knowing. It's a matter of understanding.
That's not what we're interested in.
Not all calculation, Kimo.
We're not interested in any of that. We're only interested in the effect.
You're not interested in comparing anything to reality. You just want to be able to say, because I can make something look like something else, then it must be that. That is not how science works.
That is how science works. If I can predict the cause to the effect, and if it agrees with hypothesis, then it's correct.
Well, by that measure, Chemo, I can tell you that violent crime is directly related to the sale of ice creams.
Not science. No observed phenomenon.
Chemo, crime goes up.
Not observed phenomenon.
There's my observed phenomenon.
Nothing to do with science.
I'm going to try to associate a cause between crime going up in the summer, and I'm going to examine it against the sale of ice cream.
Yeah, man-made.
I see that the ice cream goes up, and now crime has gone up. Therefore, I have a direct correlation. Thus, ice cream causes crime.
Correlation.
Same shit.
Not science. So you can go with your pseudoscience, but it's not science. It's what your opinion. It's what you think.
You're not actually providing science either. You haven't validated this against anything. You've just come up with a claim. You are actually the one performing pseudoscience in this case, because what you're doing is pretending to adhere to the scientific method, and you're not actually doing it.
I have an independent variable that I can manipulate. That's the most important thing.
Chemo, you're not actually validating it against what is real. You've come up with something, and you're making a claim against all of reality without checking your claim against that reality.
That's the experiment. I'm checking that what we see in nature is what happens in my experiment.
You're checking its reality, Chemo. You've come up with a way to make the same effect happen. Now you have to determine how is this particular setup that you've got the same in reality? You have to check the mechanisms against each other, Chemo.
Hear what you said? You know what is the cause to the effect? Job done. It's all over. You said now you need to do this. I don't need to do all that.
That's the cause to the effect. That's the problem. You have put out there that this is a possibility. Now you need to check what in reality gives you, what in reality, in the way that the atmosphere is set up, in the way that light travels, gives you that.
My job's done. So Brian agrees that I now know cause to effect. There's more to investigate because he wants the numbers. Well, I'm not bothered about the numbers. You can figure out the numbers if you want.
Quick question, clarification. For clarification, you said that you have an independent variable, that's the lens. How did you manipulate the lens?
By removing it.
No, you can't remove it, remember? Because when we talked about the Cavendish, when we removed masses, you said that wasn't good enough as an independent variable. So I'm
You're going to remove the cause, aren't you? You're going to remove the, in your Cavendish.
Removing and adding a lens in your scientific method isn't manipulating it. You have to manipulate the lens. So did you use a different kind of lens?
Can I say something? When the sun acts like a lens, the atmosphere acts like a lens, it's because of the temperature. The closer to the ground it is, the warmer it is. All you got to do is go to the top of any mountain, and it'll prove to you that it's lensing that's causing the heat to gather on the lower levels. Thank you.
Gee, that was useful.
That's not the worst point you've ever made, David, and that doesn't apply to Chemo's experiment at all, because what Chemo's doing, he's using a glass lens that has nothing to do with temperature. So what you brought up was a good point in reality, and then what Chemo brought up is a glass lens that has nothing to do with temperature changes. What do you say to that, Chemo?
Well, again, all we're dealing with, what David's talking about is like calculating temperature, how much temperature, cold, hot, cold, not what I'm interested in. And interested in what Brian agreed with. We now know the cause of the effect. Job done. That's it.
No. We just established. David brought up a good point where we're talking about different densities and temperatures and the number of variables. So how does
not variables?
How does your experiment account for those variables that we witness in reality, changing what we see in reality?
Because the temperature doesn't change whether the sun gets bigger or smaller. Duh.
Is that what we're talking about? A sun getting bigger and smaller?
Yeah.
Or
what happens to the sun? The effect of the sun.
In relation to what? The horizon, right?
No, just in the atmosphere.
Oh, so how come we don't see this atmospheric lensing?
The horizon is not physical. You don't have a physical horizon. It moves all over the place. It's not really there. It's an illusion.
So why are you using real objects in your experiment if it's all just an illusion?
The boat, the sun are objects we can see. The horizon is not.
What kind of experiment are you doing with illusion?
Why is it so difficult? And as for your Cavendish, you're removing the cause to the effect, which is the atmosphere, or the warm temperatures, or the draft. All that in a vacuum will not. All of that in a vacuum will not operate, which is why you won't have mass attracted mass in a vacuum.
Or
This
the
won't
colour
happen.
of Tuesday, or the smell of yellow.
Yeah. He said he was going to go to a college, university to get this done. He hasn't done it. Now he's going to buy one. We're still waiting for him to do the experiment. Hasn't done it.
Did you
The
perform
Cavendish experiment is repeated at universities every year.
Chemo, it's been done in a vacuum many times. The first time I know of was 1930 by the Bureau of Standards, the U.S. Bureau of Standards. It was repeated in 1942. I've got the 2 full reports on that.
Mm-hmm.
It was done at very high vacuums, and you're welcome to those reports if you'd like them.
Chemo's typical response, and you can correct me, Chemo, if you want, is that he's going to say that they're just papers with just words.
It's not a YouTube video, so therefore he can't believe it.
There's pictures, okay?
So he won't believe that either, because it's got to be a video. It's got to be a YouTube video.
It's got to be an observed phenomenon. We've got to observe the mass attracting mass. That is the claim.
Yeah, and we do.
Well,
Everywhere.
Oh, let's see it then.
Everywhere, Chemo. Drop your pencil, Chemo. That's mass attracting mass.
Fine, that's the hypothesis. Yeah, gravity. Let's demonstrate it.
No, Chemo. Let's stop being silly here. Your pen has mass. Yes.
No,
The
again,
Earth has
don't ask me for any numbers. If we have an effect, you're saying something's fallen to the ground. What's the cause? Predict it. You say gravity.
It doesn't matter what. No. The point is, the 2 objects are being attracted to each other.
Okay, so you say. So we've got to test what's causing this.
No,
yeah?
it's not so I say. The 2 objects are being attracted to each other.
How can you
If
know
they
this
weren't,
without testing
they
it?
They wouldn't move towards
How
each
do you know
other.
this without testing it?
You test it every time you drop a pen on the floor.
How do you know it's not magnetism?
It doesn't matter whether it's magnetism. It doesn't matter whether it's invisible fairies dragging one object towards another object.
Okay,
the
fine.
2 objects
Fine.
are
Fine.
attracted to each other.
Okay, fine. It's electricity and magnetism. No worries. Move on.
You're so bad, dude. It's fine. It's called magnetism. Fuck it.
No problem. As long as we know
No
it's not
problem,
gravity.
mate.
Don't invoke gravity. Don't invoke magic.
Yes,
Don't invoke
It's invoking magic, Chemo. Get a grip. All we're saying is objects are attracted to each other.
Okay,
It
fine.
happens.
It's magnet. Yeah, we see that with magnets. Yeah, not a big deal.
Chemo, you recognize. You have to recognize the inconsistency.
Would you mind coming over?
You just said don't invoke.
Would you mind coming over and showing us magnetism and these lead balls I'm using out here?
No. According to the guy here, things attract as magnetism. That's all we know. We don't need to test it. We just know it.
That's exactly what you're doing.
I
because you're
can't detect any.
lensing.
I can't detect any magnetism, Chemo.
Don't need to test it, Blue. According to the guy
I've
here,
tested it.
I don't know who's saying it, but he's saying it attracts, so that's it. We know it attracts. Cause, we don't care why.
I
can
was
claim
trying to
anything.
get you said objects mass does not attract mass. You said objects are not attracted to each other.
Yes.
I was simply pointing out that statement
Mm-hmm.
is demonstrably, obviously untrue, and all you have to do to prove it is drop something.
Magnetism, yes, I understand.
No, it's
We're not trying to determine the cause.
accepting that they are attracted to each other. Whatever the cause is, you're accepting the 2 objects are attracted to each other.
Okay, I've seen a magnet attract another magnet. It's not a big deal.
That doesn't matter. Objects that are not magnetic are attracted to each other. The point is
Fine,
that
it's all
objects
it's all
are
electricity.
attracted to each other. That is a fact. You can't get away from that fact. And it really doesn't matter whether we call it gravity or you call it my Aunt Fanny.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really doesn't matter.
Well, let's call it what we know, magnetism.
It's not magnetism.
And demonstrate it's not magnetism because a block of wood is not magnetic and it will fall to the earth. The earth is magnetic.
That's a different
As with
kind
your
of
pencil, when you drop
just,
it, that's
it's still
not magnetic.
But what is it? Why is the wood then sticking to the earth if it's not magnetism? What's causing it?
Gravity.
Gravity.
the current explanation is the best explanation we have is curvature of space-time, gravity.
Yeah, that's the hypothesis. I like it. I like it. The hypothesis, good.
It doesn't matter whether that's correct or not in terms of whether objects act in that way, and every object acts in that way, whether it be a molecule of gas in the air, or whether it be a brick, or a piece of wood, or a pen, or me throwing you off the nearest tall cliff I can find.
Yeah. Magnetism, not a big deal. But for you, Bio,
it just doesn't listen, does it?
You are the one claiming now to have the cause, magnetism. So please demonstrate that it is magnetism that causes that.
Get two magnets and watch them attract.
Are you a magnet?
I bet you I can make two magnets repel each other, Chemo.
There you go. We can also make them repel.
Well, it never does that in Cavendish.
No.
Well, nothing happens in Cavendish in a vacuum.
No matter which way I turn the balls, they always attract.
Of course they will.
They
The
never
atmosphere is the cause. But like I said, in a vacuum, you would never see any. You would never see attraction.
Oh, exactly the same thing every time it's been running the vacuum.
You will never see attraction in a vacuum, right, BioJewel?
It is attracting mass. It's been demonstrated. Period. That's the end of the story, Chemo.
Yeah,
you
you
can bitch
will
about it all
never
you want
see
to,
this.
but that's the way
We'll
it
show
works.
it then, Blue. Let's have a look in a vacuum. Let's see it.
The landing on the moon was done in a vacuum.
Yeah, we can do that on Earth. Repeat it.
Don't need to do it on Earth.
We've done it on
Was in a
Earth.
vacuum.
We've dropped a feather and a hammer at the same time on Earth.
So what else do you want?
Just a trick. What we want to see is mass attracting mass in a vacuum chamber and observe that phenomenon. Let's go, Blue. Let's have a look.
I gotta find those papers. Hold
Dig
on a
deep,
minute.
dig deep, dig deep. We want to see the observed phenomenon. We want to see with the eyes. Mass attracting mass. Not read about it. Observe it.
I do not listen, Chemo.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have a video of this. That's what you're demanding.
I'm
Go
asking
fuck
for an
yourself.
observation.
That's what you want.
I want an observation.
Go fuck
yes. Unless we observe it, it's just religion. You may as well say you've seen God, seen angels, you've seen fairies. There's no observation of it.
I've observed it, Chemo, and it's been on my channel.
No, that's not in a
And
vacuum.
lots of people have seen it. It doesn't matter about a vacuum, Chemo.
We know the cause.
Go piss
You're-
up a rope, pal. We
Fine.
don't need it in a vacuum. It doesn't make any difference whether it's in a vacuum or
Well, we
not.
know the cause then. So
All the variables have been accounted for.
Why are you getting
Air currents
upset?
don't have anything to do with it. Air currents have nothing to do with it, Chemo. All that's been ruled out.
Go
Pulled
vacuum.
out. I was wondering why he's getting so emotional.
I'm not emotional. You'll know it when I get emotional, Rocky.
You gonna ring a bell or something? Because you sounded really emotional towards Chemo.
Well, if you need me to ring a bell, I guess I'll go find a bell. I don't know.
Do you have a bell?
Does the sun set on the moon?
We wouldn't know. We haven't been to the moon, have we?
But just say we could. Would the sun set?
Do we have to imagine?
I just like the question answered.
Well, what would be the cause?
I'm not asking you what the cause is yet. I'm asking you, would it set?
I mean, again, I don't know. I haven't been there.
No, we do have a lot of video of the light and dark portions of the moon and how that terminator line travels across the moon in much the same way as it does across the Earth. And you'd be pretty sure that the sun would set on the moon. I dare say astronauts have observed it. I don't think they've ever filmed it, unfortunately. Probably because the sun would be incredibly bright and very difficult to film. But there's no atmosphere on the moon.
Maybe they shouldn't use a filter.
Listen, a piece of advice from a guy who talked to flippers for years. Try to keep it very simple and dump it down as much as you can to like a first grader as well. because they can't really grasp like complex things. Please, that you get them lost easily.
Who can't grasp complex things?
People like Yoroki and Kimo and Jose.
How do you know that?
Well, my anecdotal experience is telling me so.
So your opinion. So
No, my
how
experience.
complex? At what level? Let's say highest complexity, such as yourself. Lowest complexity, such as someone like me. Where would you say Kimo is?
Kimo?
Nice avoiding the subject and trying to divert from the subject.
You mean by what the guy
stay
that
on the
broke
subject
in on
with
your
you.
subject and started talking about how he can divine thoughts? You mean
Stay
like
on the
that?
subject, okay? Yeah, don't divert, don't pivot. I know
Let's stay on the
it's-
subject of imagining if we're on the moon,
Yes.
if the sun would set.
I
That's
know
the
you
subject
love your
I want to talk about.
too much. You know, I know you have a pillow for
That's when
unicorn.
you jumped in and said my imagination, right?
Yeah.
Can't go
Whoever
that
that guy
deep. Oh
is,
no, you said
Whoever
that guy
Jose,
is
Jose came back. Jose,
Miles Davis
Senorita
and a vibe.
Pandora, welcome
He's
back.
kind of, you see, he's not going to let me talk. He's going to interrupt me, but I need to say a sentence. You, sir, you are attempting to tell Miles Davis how to talk to flat earthers like he just appeared here today. I just want to say, Miles Davis probably here twice the amount of time that you have been.
Well, man, it doesn't matter if you stayed here longer than me or not. The point is, I'm making fun of you, bitches. That's the whole thing.
Yes,
Anyway,
the
move
old
on.
bottom of the barrel, number 12 on the
Guys,
tactic list. We
Fuck
know
up,
the
Rakia, you
game.
prick.
Boring.
How about you take
Fuck
that
up,
microphone?
nice guy, you prick.
Oh, wait, I think I was wrong again. I think
I am
that's
not,
number
bro.
13 on the tactic list. Bottom of the barrel. I get them confused with accusing someone
Yeah,
to be
you're
a
the guy.
liar at number
Yeah, you're the
12
guy who got
and
mad.
bottom of the barrel at number 13. It's one or the other.
I see. You're the one who I called the bottom of the barrel, and you got really mad about it. I remember you,
No,
man.
I didn't get mad.
You got really
I
mad.
showed you how you're a piece of shit, and so did Jose.
You started crying about it, dude.
No, I'm not crying.
No, I meant the last time I told you about it.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah, I called you the bottom of the barrel.
And you're here again?
About it. Yes, I am here
Interrupting?
again.
You're here again, interrupting that guy's imaginary experiment of the sunshine
No, I
on the
wasn't.
moon.
I wasn't
To call
interrupting. I waited
people
for him to
that
finish.
they're so bottom of the barrel they can't gather
tedious as
complexity.
fuck.
Yeah, you should mute
Listen,
that
dude,
guy.
there's one guy on Viagra, dude. Christopher, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna let him finish, okay? Go on, Rokia.
You seem to have the floor. Tell us how bottom of the barrel we are and how smart you are. Go ahead. You're the smart one here. Explain everything to us.
Just listen, okay? I'm the smart guy here, okay?
Right.
Exactly. You're so far down there in the bottom of the barrel that you can't even see the light at the end of the barrel. So I'm really sorry for you, dude. You're lost into your own deep shit. I hope
Sounded
God
smart.
forsakes you and finds your soul and sends you to heaven, because you're no longer with
Thank
God.
you.
You're no longer with reality, dude. You're in
I
your
wish
own.
the same on you, sir.
Don't wish
hope
me.
you
I don't
find
need your
heaven
wishes. I don't need your wishes. Trust me.
Oh, so you were lying.
Yeah, come on.
I wasn't
Go-
lying when I said I wish he found heaven.
Go ahead, Rokia. Answer his question. Continue your talk.
No, your intelligence is just flowing, sir. Just keep it up.
No, you go on. You go on. I said my piece.
No, I mean, I'm bottom of the barrel. I have no room to speak here. I'm gonna go on mute and have you explain how light works at the bottom of the barrel.
This is the only of the place where we kind of give you a leeway for people.
Wouldn't
like
it
you. Don't
depend
worry.
on how big the barrel and how deep the barrel was, whether the light would reach the bottom or not? But I would suspect you know all of that, right? Since you're at the top of the barrel, you're always in the light, right? What is light, by the way? You got a good definition of that?
My brother, don't pivot. Don't run from the question. Go on and talk to him.
So
I said my piece. I said my piece. I said my opinion.
you said
Move on.
nothing. You said
We need-
nothing. You called people bottom of the barrel, and people can't figure out complex things like
you're
yourself.
mad. I know you're
No,
super
I'm
mad
not
now.
mad.
And you're
I'm all good,
then
brother.
move on. Then move on. What's so hard for you to move on?
So
Just
you're
move
ready to move on? You're done?
I'm telling you to move on since this morning, dude. Move on, dude.
You're telling me to move on since this morning. I wasn't here this morning.
Just
You don't
fucking
sound
move
very
on.
smart to me.
Dude, you don't even understand figure of speech. Move on, dude. Move on.
Figure of speech. Move on
Yes.
since this morning.
Yes, move on.
You've been telling me to do something since this morning.
Man, you're so dumb, man. Move on.
The dumb one here. Got it. What's that guy's name?
I'm Jeremy's husband, just for you to know.
That's what you named yourself? That doesn't sound very smart. Shouldn't you name yourself like the Light Whisperer or Rocket Scientist or Mr. PhD?
Maybe I should change my name to Rakia's husband. How about this?
Whatever you want to do, it still doesn't make you sound very smart. Do you know what Rakia means?
I help you take a shit before you go to sleep as well.
Do you know what Kuf means?
I don't give
You
a
know
fuck
what
what
Rakia means?
I don't give a fuck what it means, man.
You don't know very much.
I told you to move and you're still hanging on me, dude. You're so sticky as fuck, man.
I'm still hanging on you. Some strange people around here y'all got, man.
Man, move on, move on. Grow up and move on.
Grow up. Nah. How would one reach the top of the barrel? Would I need to attend the college that you did?
Listen, I know you're so mad about it, dude. It's fine, dude. Not all people are equal, okay? Just get it along.
Do I sound mad to you? Do you think we're not equal?
No, we're not equal at all. Absolutely not.
So you think you're better than me and Jose and some other people here, right?
Well, I know for sure I'm better than you. I don't know about Jose, you know. Jose.
What do you mean you don't know about Jose?
Well, Jose sounds smart sometimes, but I never seen you smart.
He sounds smart sometimes. I got you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah, Jose's a very smart guy.
And you're too dumb as well. Because he agreed with me.
Maybe it's your hard heart getting in the way of your vision and your way of thinking, right? Maybe you're just a hard-hearted person who hates.
What's a hard heart?
What's a hard heart?
Yeah, that sounds medical.
It's more spiritual.
That sounds stupid then.
Hard heart is more like you're resilient and you're, kind of difficult and stubborn.
Yeah, there's different levels.
Sounds like top of the barrel. So if you're hard-hearted, you're top of the barrel then.
Wouldn't say there's a barrel involved.
I would say hard-hearted means you're not vulnerable.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. I need to go to sleep.
Okay, see you later, buddy.
See you later, man.
Hey,
Have
see you
fun,
later,
Rakia,
man.
dude. No hard feeling, okay? You know, life is unfortunate, unequal.
No hard
Don't worry
feelings.
about it, man. That's why you have people like us to help you and educate you.
Oh,
Okay?
thank
We're
you
like
very
your,
much.
We're like
sir.
your papa and mama. We help you, guide you. To
Maybe
the
I'll
right
get to
path.
pay you one day.
I don't need your money. Don't worry. I don't need.
No,
stupid
no,
money.
not paying money.
I don't want dumb money.
Yeah, not payment in money. No. I agree. I would never pay you in money for what you've given me. No matter what side of the argument you're on, for someone who comes on like that, man, you have got to take note. Bottom of the barrel.
I think for some people, being difficult is sort of a defense mechanism.
So, call another human being bottom of the barrel like you're above them. That's pretty low in my book. Might be projection. Who knows?
It's dirty, but let's move on.
It's definitely projection. I mean, it's just the same reason why, like bullies in like high school when you're growing up, they're always the most insecure people. They've got the most internal issues, then they bully people or lash out at people because they have no way to deal with their own issues. So they take it out on others.
Rakia, is there a way to call someone bottom of the barrel and not sound like above it?
So we're coming to the end of another day here in the UK, closing the day for the day, and still no evidence of the lie we were told about the globe. No proof. What?
You just said a lie.
No,
That's
I'm just
not
saying that we have 3 points about curvature. Has anyone actually measured the actual curve that we know of that we can reference?
Yes.
Has anyone actually?
Yes.
Has anyone actually observed and measured the rotation? And obviously the third one
Yes.
is how do we have gas pressure next to a vacuum? So those questions are still
It's called atmospheric gradients.
And it's all to do with that thing we were talking about where you had conceded that objects are attracted towards each other. So the molecules in the air are attracted towards the Earth, and that is why we have gas pressure. The reason for that doesn't matter. If it's magnetism, if it's electromagnetism, if it's invisible fairies pushing it on every molecule to push it down, really doesn't matter. They are attracted to the Earth, and that's why we have an atmosphere.
I mean, that sounds good, looks good, but the only way we can be sure, 100% for sure, is with science. Now, unless we have a scientific experiment that agrees with the hypothesis, then obviously we have to go down to that you have an idea that you wish to be true, you hope is true, and unfortunately the world doesn't work like that. You need that experiment to confirm your hypothesis, which is what you've been delivering all afternoon. You've been giving us what you think, you've been giving us your predicted cause, which is okay, it's fine, I don't mind predicted causes, but unless you manipulate your independent variable, you're not going to know the answer.
And I posted that experiment gravity for you. Did you see it, Chemo?
Is that a paper without experiment?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So again, 2021, we don't accept papers without experiments these days. The days of just asking another guy, look at my paper.
Don't accept. This is a paper from 1942.
Yeah, but those days
written at the time by the National Bureau of Standards. Today that's called NIST.
Look, those days are gone when you just
it's not done with YouTube videos. Now, you may think that's the way things are done, but in the real world, I assure you it's not. We actually write papers, just like this one.
Again, we cannot take any assurances without an experiment. Again, words sound good,
They
they may look good.
That's fine. He rejected it. I've given you the information.
Nothing is rejected, like I said, unless we have an experiment where I can manipulate the independent variable. We have nothing more.
You're a science denialist, Chemo.
Not denied anything.
Simply a science denialist.
Nothing is being denied.
Chemo, have you ever tried any of the experiments that you're asking about that are in some of these studies? Have you ever tried any of them yourself to see what kind of results you come up with?
Definitely. Look, if I've got an observed phenomenon and I predict the cause, then I'm going to test that. Definitely, yeah. So, for example, you can do a simple egg test, potato, objects rising and falling. What's the cause in that? Is it gravity? Is there a force? Is it density? That's just a simple test you can do just to test if there is any kind of forces at play. Easily done, yeah. Another one is you can test whether the sun, the effect of the sun remaining the same size, disappearing from bottom up. Is it behind a physical horizon? Is it behind something else? We can rule out that it's not behind a physical horizon, it's not physical curvature, it's something else.
You can't rule it out because you haven't tested it. That you're only explaining half of science. The other half of science is when you test someone else's claim and prove it false. That's the other half of science.
Yeah, falsifiability. And if there's an experiment or a claim that's not falsifiable, then you're in trouble there.
Yeah, you can show that it's curvature and not atmospheric lensing. You can't show it's curvature though, right?
You can show that. But that's not the point. The point is that you're making a claim that it can't be curvature, despite not having tested whether it can be.
Yeah, again, you test for the force of gravity. How many times?
Right. So you're saying that
very
it's
easy. It doesn't need to be a force of gravity. It simply needs to be that objects fall towards the Earth.
No, but
that's all.
We're waiting for biodual.
We don't need to know exactly how or why, although great strides have been made in that regard. All we need to know is that it does happen. And you ask for experiments every single time somebody drops something, that experiment is performed. Every time something rolls down a hillside or a mountainside, that experiment is performed. Every time a raindrop falls, that experiment is performed. There have been millions of them, billions of them, and on every single occasion, objects fall towards the Earth. And so, on that basis alone, there is a vast amount of evidence that says that the molecules of the air will be attracted to the Earth, and that's why we have an atmosphere. You can provide nothing to the contrary, absolutely nothing.
Well, you have a hypothesis. You say there's an attraction, okay, but without a test. That's fine. Again, no test, but just hypothesis. What we will do.
We do have a test. We have the Cavendish.
Yes, it's been tested. Every time something drops to the Earth, that hypothesis is tested.
No, that's the effect, yeah? You're not testing the cause.
No, it's that the hypothesis is tested.
What's the predicted cause? That's your hypothesis.
The cause is the two objects.
Okay.
So the cause is mass, chemo, and then the way that you manipulate that cause is by introducing different sized masses, and then you get a different measured effect. What's wrong with anything that I just said?
Because we're looking for the cause of why the object.
The cause is mass.
In liquid, and on each occasion, the observed rate of falling matches, what would be predicted. It really doesn't matter. The point is, everything falls towards the Earth, including gas molecules. They also have.
I haven't argued with you, have I? I've accepted your hypothesis. It's not a. You keep repeating your hypothesis. I get it. What you need now is an experiment to agree with you. Only you agree with you right now. Yes.
Every single time something is dropped, that is an experiment that agrees with that. It's not so much a hypothesis as an observation that things fall towards the Earth. That's all we need. Now, you flat earthers love to go on about density. It doesn't matter. If density was the cause, that would be fine. It wouldn't change the fact that the molecules are held to, in the atmosphere by being attracted to the Earth.
I mean, again, I'm not arguing. The sun goes over the apparent horizon. I get what you're saying. The hypothesis is that you're saying the effect over and over again. Things fall to the floor. Sun goes over horizon. We know the effect. We're asking what causes this effect. That's all we want to know.
Gravity, if you're talking about gravity, mass is causing the effect.
Correct.
Exactly.
So
the point about the sun going over the horizon, okay? You said you're interested in the cause. You're not remotely interested in the cause, because there are many potential causes, and you need to eliminate the ones that are not true. And I've given you a perfectly sensible way of eliminating the lensing idea, and yet you're not remotely interested in that.
No, because it's not science. I'm not interested if it's not science.
Eliminating false hypotheses is in fact science. It is one of the fundamental foundations of science.
No. Again, you start with an observed phenomenon. How are we going to get this into your mind? I mean, do we have to keep going over it again and again until you realise you have no knowledge unless you've followed the
observed observation is the sunset.
It's not just observing
there are
something.
Causes. We create hypotheses as explanations for that observed observation, and you are not prepared to either try and find any evidence to support the atmospheric lensing hypothesis, or to try and disprove that, and you're not interested in any alternative hypotheses. You are not interested in doing any science.
I think you're confused with observation, like you observe something, and observe phenomenon. That's your problem. Because the phenomenon is something you question that you're not sure.
If I observe something, I am observing a phenomenon.
Well, is it questionable?
Observational science does exist.
Of course, it's questionable, but if you observe the same thing repeatedly, then you can be pretty sure what you're observing, can't you? If you take some sensible measurements and so on.
Then it's not questionable, right?
What do you mean by questionable?
That's part of the phenomenon. You don't know what's going on. What caused that to happen?
Of course, you want the fact that the observation occurs is not questionable. What the cause of it is very questionable, and that's what science has done. That's what you have refused to do.
That's what I've been saying to you all night. That's the point. Observe phenomena. What caused that effect? Manipulate, predict cause, get your experiment, get your results.
That's what you haven't done.
Yeah, that's what the atmosphere.
That's what you have never done, Kima. Not once.
Yes, like I just said, the atmosphere acting like a lens was the predicted cause.
That's an assertion, a baseless assertion without evidence.
Yes,
That is not questioning or testing a hypothesis.
Like if you said, when you said about the fairies, so if I said fairies are causing the sun to do what it does, I would have to manipulate fairies, right? I wouldn't have to show you fairies in the atmosphere. I would just have to manipulate the cause, the fairies, and show the results. That's it.
Absolutely. So if you're claiming the atmosphere, you have to manipulate the atmosphere.
No, that's not what we do. We're repeating what we see.
Just said, Chemo. You said if it was fairies, I'd have to manipulate the fairies. So if it's the atmosphere, you have to manipulate the atmosphere.
Hey, we know the atmosphere is a lens because of the difference in temperature between low and high areas of on the Earth.
No, you don't know it's a lens. You know that light refracts. That's not the same thing.
And you got to remember, a lot of this light refraction that happens, it has to do a lot with the molecules that are actually in the air. You got to remember, like water molecules and that sort of thing, they refract light. And think of how many molecules are floating around in the atmosphere, especially as you get closer to Earth. Those molecules are tighter and tightly packed. The further away you get from the Earth, the more dispersed these molecules become.
We have a new voice.
Yes, the biggest factor is temperature. The temperature affects the distance between the molecules, the density of the air, if you like. Okay, but to claim the atmosphere acts like a lens simply because it refracts. Refraction, not all refraction is a lens effect, a magnifying effect.
Yeah, exactly. There are all sorts of factors that are just in the air, just atmospheric.
We know that at 20 miles above our head, it's 50 below zero and windless and weatherless. The closer to you come to the ground, the warmer it gets, depending on where the sun is in your frame of reference. But other than that, temperature is the reason that we know that there's atmospheric lensing. So once you have established that there's atmospheric lensing,
not lensing,
Chemo is completely right.
Demonstrated lensing. You've not demonstrated the atmosphere magnifies.
If it's warmer, our atmosphere would have to be a lens that would turn the temperature up by lensing the sun, correct?
Incorrect.
What do you mean incorrect? Well, show me where you could show the sun beaming and it's cold outside.
I never made that claim.
Well, what is your claim? Hurry up and make it.
I'm saying that you haven't demonstrated that the atmosphere acts as a lens. You
can't heat the atmosphere without a lens. Now, can you? The atmosphere would have to be lensing
you can
to warm up.
You can heat things without a lens. I do it every time I do some cooking. You don't need a lens to heat things up.
All right, so you're just making wild stories now. Go ahead.
No, that's not a wild story. That's a perfect example. What he's trying to point out is that there are alternate ways to heat something without a lens. You don't have to generate heat with a lens.
Have you never stood next to a radiant heater? There's no lens there.
No,
Just
there's
infrared
obviously-
radiation.
There's obviously
Exactly.
a
There's
magnifying
all
glass
sorts
inside
of
there.
there's all sorts of factors that generate heat. There's friction. There's like we were talking about light refraction. There's all sorts of things.
A UV
And for your
cooking lamp.
information, it is much. And for your information, it's much colder at 45,000 feet than it is at 100,000 feet.
Oh,
Check it out.
100%. If you ever climbed a mountain, the higher up you go, the colder it gets. The lighter the air gets. It's all because you're moving away from that center.
But strange thing about the atmosphere is, as you go above about 50,000 feet, it warms up again. It'll go from negative 60.
Hey, man, why?
back up to
Don't come
around
in here
zero.
telling those lies,
does.
dude. Why
It's
even
not lies,
run
buddy.
your lips, dude?
Look it
Run
up.
your
Look it up
lips.
in
Run
any
them.
book.
I mean, just
Look
play
it up
like
in any
everybody in
book.
this
Look it up.
server is just mentally retarded.
up.
And then, oh yeah,
But
No,
I guess
it's not
it's 50 below zero. It's 50 below zero at 100,000 feet, and then all of a sudden it
No, it
goes
is.
down to 40,
No, it's
down to
crazy.
30,
No,
down to
no,
20.
no,
And it's
no.
like 100. It's like 500 degrees up there, about
You're full of
5, 10,
shit.
25 miles up, huh?
Dallas David,
David,
have
you're
you ever
full of
climbed to
shit.
the summit of a tall mountain? Have you ever climbed to the summit of a tall mountain before?
That's
I
my
have.
whole point. The top of mountains are cold, so why would it be warmer on the ground than the top of the mountain? Because the atmosphere is lensing the sun and warming it up just like a magnifying glass. That's what lensing is.
No, it's because the atmosphere has gotten lighter.
What does light have to do with anything? Lighter.
No, not light. It's gotten lighter, as in less. Lighter, as in there's
There's
not
a-
as much density in the atmosphere at that height.
There's less molecules.
Exactly. So
to
the
bounce off and
atmosphere is
transfer
lensing.
energy.
So
Thank you,
what?
exactly.
It's magnifying the sun, then, isn't it? The atmosphere's magnifying the sun, right?
No, there's less material to bounce around and create the heat to give off.
Hey Dallas, you're referring to like the what's that dude? Skiba, yeah, Skiba vision, right? Where he shows a magnifier, right? So just out of curiosity, why is it that nothing else is magnified with that atmosphere?
What do you mean nothing else is magnified?
Yeah, like airplanes, birds, clouds, all that stuff. Why is it
you change the color of something, then it gets hotter, right?
Yeah, try. Did you pay attention to the question I just asked? Don't change it, man.
I did, but it doesn't make it. It's not coherent. Go say it again.
Yeah, that was pretty coherent. Why is it that nothing else, birds, planes, butterflies, clouds, why aren't they magnified? In this magnificated atmosphere.
Who's saying they're not?
Show it.
No,
think
but
it is.
it's your claim that they don't. You show it doesn't. The sun looks larger sometimes and smaller in other times. Don't you agree?
You're disagreeing. Yeah, you're worried about the sun. I didn't fucking say anything about the sun. I said, why is it the other things aren't doing the same thing?
So you agree that the sun
yes,
does
they
that?
are. Show it.
So you
If
agree
you're
that
counter-
the sun does do that?
The sun
So go ahead.
essentially is the same size.
Wait, who is that?
all the time.
Is that Erebus, the person who never answers a question? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ask you anything. Never mind.
No, I believe he's asking why isn't that happening with everything else?
Well, who says it
The
isn't?
sun remains the same size when we view it through a solar filter to block out any glare. The sun appears the same size all the time, yet other objects that we observe get smaller and smaller in our field of view. Their angular size reduces the further away they are from us.
Is that airplane in the same medium as the sun, sir? In your opinion?
Sorry?
Is the sun...
I don't know, and neither do you.
I was asking the other guy. I will never ask you anything.
That's what's going to boil down to is you're going
If
to
you could put yourself on mute where I can talk to the other guy who addressed me, who asked me a question.
Yeah, I know
That
you're.
would be great.
See, the thing is, he may not know what you're going to say, but I do.
Oh, so you need to answer for him. Isn't that, I
go
think
ahead.
that is white knighting, isn't it?
I can answer for you too,
No.
Rock. Yeah.
Maybe let that other guy answer, the guy who's being genuine.
I can answer too, Rock. Yeah, blah 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 blah.
Who is
Bullshit,
this?
bullshit,
Is this Hayden
bullshit.
Master Shield? How
Bullshit,
many
bullshit.
degrees do you have, sir? Several.
Well, why don't you attack me personally since you don't have no argument?
Well,
Yeah, I'm trying to talk to the
Blah,
other guy.
blah,
Look,
blah,
look,
blah,
two
blah.
people have cut in so far.
Blah,
Let's see
Hold
how
on.
many more cut in before this guy gets the answer.
Here's
Mr.
how it's
Genuine.
gonna go down.
Hey, guy. I asked you
What?
a question. I know you're going to answer honestly. Is the sun and the airplane the analogous? Like, are they in the same medium even, in your opinion?
And then he's gonna ask
the
how
light,
you know.
the light from the sun passes through the same medium as the aeroplane and the bird and
Not my question, and you know it. You're smart enough to know the question.
No, I know.
So an airplane. Let me
opinion,
ask it in a different way, since you obfuscated that one.
No,
Is
no,
an airplane a light?
What do you mean by is a light?
Is an airplane a light?
I'm trying very hard to understand what you mean by a light.
Jesus, bro. Is the sun a light?
No,
The sun's not a light.
not in that sense. The sun is an
Okay,
object.
does the sun
Well,
give off
burning
light?
hydrogen.
Okay,
Yeah, so
fair
listen,
enough. Does
can
the
I
sun
answer the
give off
question?
light?
You said you wanted to hear my answer. The sun.
You said
is
no. You said
the
no.
sun is an object that emits light.
Okay, so it emits light. Does an airplane emit light?
Yes.
The same way the sun does?
Well, the light that flash on the wingtips, the lights inside the cabin, yes, they do in a very similar way emit light.
Okay, is it as bright as the sun?
No.
How
Okay,
far
is
are we
it
gonna
in the
take
same?
the goal?
Is the airplane in the atmosphere? In our atmosphere?
How far are you gonna take the goalposts until you get the answer that you
This will
want?
go a lot